because of the shadowy tunnel network under our feet. Thank goodness you've changed this city completely. Cleaned it up.
As far as we know, there's none of that going on.
All right, I'm going to go take a look.
Today.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Even though there are obviously no formal maps of the secret tunnels under Portland, Cindy passed me an old city blueprint showing a remaining section of a tunnel directly below the Ridge Hotel. She believes this was a Shanghai tunnel. I'm curious to see what this subterranean passageway looks like, and just how extensive these underground networks really were. Here we go. This is where we're going. It's creepy, isn't it? Man, it doesn't take much to go back to the 19th century in this place, does it? Oh, these are spooky spaces, huh? A lot of that kind of stuff down here. A lot of spider webs. Here, in this shadowy passageway, thousands of unconscious men may very well have been dragged to the Portland waterfront, where unbeknownst to them, a ship to China awaited. Wow. Basically, you're in what is a combination of basements, passageways, sewers, utility tunnels of some sort. This, if you look on that map, this is where the tunnel goes through. And just beyond this would have been another tunnel.
That's a good one.
You're in what is an old staging ground for a truly grim crime.
To each their own.
Right here is the old trapdoor. Inside of these rafters here takes me right back in time. Right above me looks like a perfect trap. A saloon would have been packed with loggers, spending their week's pay on whiskey and beer, with no idea that the women who were flirting with them were secretly slipping knockout drops into their drinks and luring them over the trap door. And then, boom, they fall right down to where I'm standing. They would have been hearing the whole world of Portland overhead, but they would have been bound and gagged and drugged or whatever down here, waiting for their fate. They would not know what. Yikes. But if you think the Shanghai tunnels of Portland were bad, move just 175 miles to the north, and the stories grow ever more sinister. Why? Because the opportunity to get rich was even greater.
Ooh.
Tens of millions of Americans walk around every day with no idea that hidden underworlds exist right beneath their feet. And where there's darkness, there's cover from the law. This is Seattle, Washington. This is a town with a very secret subterranean past. Gold is really the gas on fire here.
Hello, 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 hello.
And the first port on the way back to America is Seattle. Gold floods into the city, and they needed to store it somewhere.
Advanced food, inventory, utilities, builders.
This is the assay office. This is one of the 2 places in town where they
Sexual abuse office, you fucking idiot.
So much gold was being brought to Seattle that this bank needed to create a second vault. All still exists. See, you can see the vault door. Pretty cool. Thousands of square feet of underground chambers made Seattle a natural place for banks offering to secure the tons of gold coming in from the Klondike. This sparked the economic boom that helped
Think about
put
using
the
this
city
one.
of Seattle on the map. But of course, nothing lives forever. Where there is this kind of money, especially back then, it's a magnet for crooks and sleazy people. And this becomes a very, very dark story for a
Fire
while.
spreads.
The story of how Seattle's criminal underground lair came to be is one of the craziest in American history.
Hello, hello,
Allison
hello, how low?
The
Hello,
Seattle
hello,
Underground begins for a
hello,
very
how
specific purpose.
low?
What is that?
Forgot the
city
rest
was
of
built
the
on sea
words.
level. Yeah. They had a lot of problems with tidewaters coming in, sometimes flooding the streets, but also they had a big problem with sewage.
So the streets of Seattle are overrun with sewage. And then, on June 6,
Teen
1889,
Smells Like Teen
a
Spirit
clumsy carpenter kicks
by
over a pot of hot
Kurt
glue,
Cobain,
and whoosh,
Nirvana.
the entire business district goes up in flames. The Great Seattle Fire decimates the city, but local officials see a silver lining, a chance to rebuild their city above sea level, solving the sewage and flooding problems, but creating opportunity for unsavory crimes.
Oh, you bet. And the undergrounds became the haven for that, I would imagine. Exactly. They're used for all kinds of shady things. Right. Yeah, so there was all these schemes and scams to collect that gold. Yeah, yeah. And this is what they called mining the miners.
Kingdom Underworld.
First, the streets flooded with gold. Then they ran red with blood. There were so many murders here that the city couldn't remove the bodies fast enough to keep up appearances. They unfortunately had the not-so-brilliant idea to pay any man, woman, or child $25 to bring a body to the morgue. Here's the problem. Murder becomes very profitable. So the bad guys killed people any way they could. One notorious scheme involved a brothel owner and madam named Lou Graham, who would come out from below ground to lure sailors under her building's windowsills with her sexual wares. Then,
What?
another one of her female
Hey,
accomplices
puta.
would push a flower pot off a ledge from high above onto the sailor's head, killing him instantly. After
Flower
stealing
pot?
the victim's money, the madam would deliver the body to the morgue and collect her $25. Because of her scheming, Lou became the richest woman in Seattle, and part of her legacy lives on. And it was all possible because of the murder tunnels beneath the city streets. But back at the turn of the 20th century, she was just one of an assortment of criminals who would use any grisly method they could think of to make a buck in the Seattle underworld.
As you walk around through the oldest part of Seattle, Pioneer Square here, you don't realize you're walking above all that history.
Yes.
Where the city originally started. Yeah. It's one story down.
That's really crazy. Right here in the U.S., there are thousands of miles of unmapped tunnels that run beneath our homes, businesses, and schools. These undergrounds have long been the hiding places where our worst criminals do their bidding. And how can I explore America's subterranean passageways without checking out the historic capital of the criminal underworld? Chicago, home to some of the most notorious mobsters in American history. John Dillinger, Babyface Nelson, Frank Nitti, and none more notorious than Al Capone. Chicago has over 60 miles of tunnels under the city that have long been rumored to have fueled Chicago's vast history of criminal operations. So I got state-of-the-art tech to see if I can bring this
But they're
massive
still
network
using
of
that
dark
too.
spaces into the light.
Say hello to my little friend, the Leica Pegasus backpack. This little device costs $250,000. Luckily, they're letting me borrow one for free.
Oh yeah, God bless them.
It's a combination of cameras, GPS, and laser technology, and essentially collects the data from walking through a subterranean space and combines it into what is a 3D map that can be looked at, on a tablet or a laptop. This now makes it possible to record huge amounts of territory just by taking a walk with a backpack.
Now that I have this new tech in my hands, I'm heading out to see what I can learn about how Al Capone, the most infamous gangster in history, used the underworld. Nicknamed Scarface, Capone became the head of the Chicago mob at the early age of 26 and spent the next 6 years bootlegging booze and mowing down anyone who got in his way. Capone is said to have made $100 million a year, a whopping $1.3 billion in today's money. He supposedly killed over 700 people. He also had full protection from the police and political leaders of Chicago. So, how did he do it? How did Capone gain almost total control of not only the criminal underworld, but also the elected politicians? There's long been rumors that Capone used a network of tunnels below the city to run his criminal operation. So I'm going to use this groundbreaking LiDAR technology, and maybe I can find out if it's actually true. Grant? Grant DePorter is the owner of Harry Carey's Italian Steakhouse. This building used to be the headquarters for Al Capone's right-hand man, Frank Nitti, and may have been an important entry point into the underworld.
This is one of the oldest buildings down here in downtown Chicago, right?
Oh, for sure, yes. And it goes back to the 1800s. And Frank Nitti, Capone's enforcer, owned our building for many, many years. And
Right.
Frank and his wife Annette, they had an office here on the second floor.
And are there remnants of that time here in terms of them occupying these spaces?
Oh, yeah. One time I went through the wall and found an address book with mobster home phone numbers in it, and all, city officials.
Really?
Yes, just hidden in a wall.
Wow.
I want to show you this bookshelf back here. If I hit this magic button, this wall will open up.
Ah, that's great.
And this is where their office was.
And it's sitting on an underground, am I right?
Right. Underground tunnel system.
Ugh.
I want to show you this bookshelf back here. If I hit this magic button, this wall will open up.
Ah, that's great.
And this is where their office was.
And it's sitting on an underground, am I right?
Right. Underground tunnel system that was originally created, for like coal distribution, but they weren't making money, so it failed. And then it was great for the mob. It was a complete network of 60 miles of underground tunnels.
Can you get to them now?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, lead the way.
Okay.
Off.
Our restaurant opened in 1987. 11
You
years
know what
after
I
that,
need to do?
1998, an electrician was drilling through this wall, and we found an 85-foot room that we didn't know even existed.
Wow.
That is so fucking cool. I'm a pervert. God damn you, no. Get over there, god damn it. I'm gonna kill you. Get over there. Honky nigger bitch. I'm gonna kill these nigger cunts. Fucking nigger bitch. Hold on, y'all. That's not the guy. Ancient invisible cities. Planet of the Apes. Oh, Tales of the Underworld. I'm gonna fucking murder you idiots. You don't wrap that shit up. Fucking niggers. Okay, we need to... If I have to get rid of a lot of these worlds, I will. I need to make a perimeter though, so I can sleep. I'm gonna start killing these motherfuckers. If they don't knock this shit off, cunts. Gonna slit your fucking throat, goddamn nigger.
This photograph was taken in 1871 at the Danvers State Hospital in Massachusetts. The girl you're seeing is Catherine Doyle, only 9 years old. But look carefully at this image. Look at her eyes, the rigidity of her posture, the expression that simply doesn't belong on a child's face. Catherine Doyle defied everything Victorian era doctors knew about the human mind. Her case remains inexplicable to this day, more than 150 years
She's
later.
so
This
precious and
photograph
cute.
you're
Oh my
seeing
god.
captured one of the most
Wanna
disturbing
adopt her.
and haunting
She's so cute.
mysteries of the 19th
It would be cool to
century.
have a kid with that kind
What
of gift.
happened to Catherine Doyle cannot be explained by modern medicine. It cannot be explained by psychology.
Let's go in. Let's go in. We're gonna go in fresh. You absolutely serious right now? They're gonna kill me in the first date. So messed up.
He spawns on top of a tree. He's got to
Wait,
drop
let me turn
down.
off- Hold on.
That's hilarious.
First of all, let's mess with settings before we start. Music is all good. I can't believe. Did you see that? Like, what are the odds this is gonna be? They did this to me. Okay, directional audio. I got a lovely little hoodie. This is my everyday outfit. Okay, we did her. I would never. Shift click and do the trick from the other pack. Okay, if you do that, it's this, and it.
Hold
This
on.
photograph was image. Look at her eye. Mind. Her case remains inexplicable to this day, more than 150 years later. This photograph you're seeing captured one of the most disturbing and haunting medical mysteries of the 19th century. What happened to Catherine Doyle cannot be explained by modern medicine. It cannot be explained by psychology, and perhaps it can never truly be understood. But the story you're going to hear today goes far beyond any ordinary medical case. It's a story that questions the very limits of human reality. To fully understand Catherine Doyle's case, we need to return to the world of 1871. America was still recovering from the deep scars of the Civil War that had ended. To fully understand Catherine Doyle's, but the story
Hold on.
by psychology, and perhaps it can never truly be understood. But the story you're going to hear today.
No, you niggers aren't doing that shit. Fucking niggers. Gonna kill you. I'm gonna kill these cocksuckers. Catherine Doyle, that's interesting.
This photograph was taken in 1871 at the Danvers
Oh,
State
I'm gonna
Hospital
look
in
up something.
Massachusetts. The girl you're seeing is Catherine Doyle, only 9 years old.
Escaping a human sacrifice.
I'm Mark Graves, and today we're talking.
A Clarksville man escapes with stab wounds out a window after being told. A Clarksville man escapes with stab wounds out a window after being told, "You are about to die," and you. Clarksville man escapes with stab wounds out a window after being told, "You are about to die," and you will never believe the reason behind this attempted murder. Police say it was a human sacrifice gone wrong.
News Channel 5's Jason Lamb spoke with the victim today, even as one of the suspects is still on the run tonight.
It seems like this crime could have been ripped straight out of a movie script, but Clarksville police say it is all too real, with 2 suspects in custody, one arrested just this week, and another suspect still on the run. Police say they arrested Bernardino Rodriguez Molina this week in Virginia, charging him with attempted first-degree murder. This woman, Sarah Colleen Miller, has already been arrested back in February. Police say almost a year ago, the day after Christmas, the victim, Jose Raul Mendez, got stabbed and narrowly escaped being killed after Molina told him, quote, "You are about to die," and that he was going to sacrifice him to Santa Muerte, the saint of death. Another suspect in the room, Daniel Rodriguez Molina, is still on the run.
It sounds pretty crazy. It sounds like something that would only happen in movies.
Next-door neighbor Alexandria McFarland says she hadn't heard of what happened.
It's really sketchy, and I get paranoid already at night, so it's really scary knowing that something like that happened here.
And quite a coincidence, too, that Alexandria had this sign outside her door.
Trespass and we will sacrifice you to Satan. We thought it would be a fun Halloween joke because we didn't really have any decorations and I like to do art projects. And now it's very inappropriate and awkward.
Today, the victim, who didn't want to talk on camera, says he's doing okay, still living in the same complex where the attack happened, as neighbors hear the news about the sacrificial attack close to home.
Sounds like someone's been watching way too many horror movies, I would say. It's very uncomfortable.
Ah, she looks suspicious.
It's very uncomfortable, I would say, yeah.
Jason Lamb, News Channel 5.
You know, and just all a coincidence that the next door neighbor had such a sign. Then just start shooting something. After we get back, cool the first day we hang out. Nothing. Right, the neighbor was involved. Exactly. She looks so suspicious.
So when they would perform these rituals and human sacrifices, were they...
Aisha's.
Do you have any idea about the methods on procuring a child?
I think there was connections, the black web, dark web, you know, places.
And do you... And do you have any idea about the methods on procuring a child?
I think there was connections, the black web, dark web, you know, places I don't visit. I do remember my mother and father recording the rituals, so there's a chance that perhaps they exchanged the video for money or for a child. But my father would be gone for quite some time to get the kids. Usually, I don't remember it ever being less than a day.
Have you ever described to authorities, like, to make a facial sketch or anything of any of these children, and the name you were given and the city allegedly that they came from, the time period? Have you ever done any of that?
Unfortunately, authorities don't care unless I hand them hard evidence, and my mother didn't give me hard evidence to grow up with and give to the authorities.
Where were the rituals taking place? I mean, was this like in the woods somewhere? Was it a building? Was it your home? How many people would gather for these? How often would they happen?
I remember 4 rituals well enough that I can speak about with confidence, not just the ritual, but the beginning, the middle, the end, who was involved. My family lured in at least 2 other families from the church for these sacrificing rituals.
Where would you host them?
We lived in a duplex. My most traumatic event was actually at a duplex. There were 2 of them at friends' houses from the church. There was one in a rural area in a barn.
Was it like the movies portray, eyes wide shut, cloaks, all of that kind of stuff?
I haven't seen any of those movies, but so many people comment on my content like, this is like Eyes Wide Shut, so...
Were people covering their faces, or everybody was just out in the open?
I differ from Eyes Wide Shut because it was not that big. The cult I grew up in was not that big, at least what I experienced. Maybe there's more that I don't see. But yes, the masks and the costumes, and it didn't happen all the time, but it did. And I believe it was to make us kids look crazy if we say anything.
What did the costumes look like?
So I remember my mom wearing the devil horns sometimes, so I could still completely see her face. There was another ritual where my mom lured in a family from the Catholic Church, and the father, he was actually like mid-20s maybe at the time. He wore his daughter's Minnie Mouse costume, and maybe to confuse us, in case we said anything, because if I go to a family friend or an authority and say, I saw Minnie Mouse kill a child, they're not going to take me seriously. And another thing my mom did a lot, and trigger warning, is during these rituals, she would take a broomstick, and like, one of the main motives behind all this, from what I've observed in my opinion, is that it was for sexual pleasure and gratification. And so during the ritual, she would take a broomstick and go like this in between her legs while the torture was happening. And after she would get off, apparently, and it was obvious, then she would continue to essay the children. And I believe she did that as a way to groom us to think that it was normal and to do it to the next generation. And also physiologically, if she's training children to get off to control and evil, what is that going to do to a child growing up? I thought my family was the only evil one. Come to find out, this is actually way more common than I thought. The broomstick thing, there's also other speculations that I don't know are true or not about like putting hallucinogens on it. I don't know if my mom did that. One thing is that if I were as a child or an adult to go to an authority or for someone for help and say, I saw my mom being a witch, killing children, they're going to think I'm crazy. So it's like one of those other things that they do where, in my opinion, they do it to make the child look crazy if they say anything.
So when they would perform these rituals and human sacrifices, were they like, okay, Kibby, watch this, this is what's happening tonight, or they would just do it knowing that you were around, or were you specifically told to watch it?
I was specifically told to watch it, and I believe that was to train me, to get me to physiologically find pleasure from this.
You're watching satanic rituals and babies being murdered at night, and then like, are you guys doing birthday parties and like normal family stuff like that in the day?
So we celebrated Christmas, we celebrated all the holidays with my mom's side of the family.
Get the fuck over there, cunt.
Things like Hail Satan or anything like that, or it was just like, we're doing these sacrifices, but we're saying we're
fucking nigger.
So she never said Hail Satan that I remember. Sometimes it like seemed like she praised Jesus, and she actually believed in him. I don't know if it was a manipulation tactic to use against me. She didn't say Satan. She said that she worshipped the devil, and when she gave her soul to the devil, she could get whatever she wanted. And that actually enabled me to develop dissociative identity disorder, which I worked on very hard and has been taken off of my charts in 2023, the beginning.
I didn't know that that was something that you could overcome. I thought you just learned to live with it.
No,
Really?
and I strongly disagree with that. And I'm
So you had different personalities and different alters, and then you were able to completely be done with that?
And it happened because around age 9 or 10, I go, Mom, how am I going to live a normal life, right? Like, how am I going to, I want a happy life. Like, look what we just experienced. Because the rituals did stop at 8. And she goes, well, you can do what I do. And that is that I give my soul to the devil, and he gives me a new one. And when I get a new one, my pain goes away, and I get to restart on another life. What she didn't tell me was that doing that would disassociate me from my true self, and I would be jeopardizing and sacrificing my true self.
At your worst, how many alters did you have?
3.
Can you describe them?
Kibby, my child self, and I use a pseudonym. I use Kibby in honor of the fact that when I was a child, I wanted to be a painter, named Kibby Linga, and tell on my mom. That was my inner child's articulation. I want to tell on my mom. And so what ended up happening with her telling me to do that, to deal with my pain in life, is that when I was 13, my pain became too much. So I switched my heart or soul, Kibby, with the devil for a new one, and because I love colors, I went from a green heart to a purple heart at age 13. So at age 13, I'm literally thinking, I'm on my second life within the same life, and that's okay because it's helping me cope.
And so as a child, your way of processing, okay, now I'm a new person, I'm starting over, is you would imagine your heart turning a different color, like, okay, now I'm new, I have this new heart, I'm a purple person versus a green person.
New color, new name, new...
And so who was the second person?
Paige.
Okay, and what was Paige like?
Very carefree, very fun, kind of like avoiding everything that had happened and living my best life. But that best life didn't look that healthy.
Would you have different handwriting and cadence to your voice and things like that?
Until I was 30, until I embraced the trauma, I didn't have switches other than the designated time, like at age
where your
13.
heart was changing.
And then the next one was at age 24.
Okay, and who was at 24?
Then I went from a purple heart to an orange heart. I went from Paige to Tuna. I had to think of the name last minute. I was in so much pain. I'm like,
yeah,
Tuna it is. And that was from 24 to 30. And then I started embracing extensively.
Motherfuckers.
And
what the fuck?
That's when I started switching. And that was in 2020.
No.
And thank God for the pandemic, because I didn't have to work for about 2 years, so it was like my main
we are not gonna play that shit.
Personas, nurture them, get to love them, help them, be there for them. I was in a state of confusion. I literally thought I was 3 different people within the same body.
So you had to go back and you had to heal each one of those 3 people, I'm assuming.
It's
Yeah,
so
it was
sad,
kind
though.
of like I was going back to each of those eras and reliving those lives in a better way.
And now you're Kibby again. I mean, yourself. You're back to yourself, and you're wearing a green shirt today, I have to point out, for those that aren't watching on YouTube. So was that by design?
Yes.
Yes. The other kids in this satanic cult. Just their families were involved.
Oh.
What were they like? What were their parents saying to them? Were you allowed to communicate with each other and be friends?
Yes. However,
entities and
it was very
clipboard.
shameful for me, so I presume it was very shameful for us. So us kids didn't talk about it much.
Do you know what happened to any of them? Like, have you ever found them and talked to them about what happened to you guys?
I've reached out to all of them. They're all in denial, like they're heavily in denial. There was one sacrifice where two cats were sacrificed, and I did receive some validation from that, but not from the person who sacrificed the cat themselves, which happened to be a child. That was a sacrifice where a child made the sacrifice. And her older sister is the one who kind of like validated some questions I had around it.
Were there
What the
ever
fuck?
explanations of like, here's why we're doing this, here's why we're killing this baby, here's why we're eating this person? Was there any explanation given?
Her rationalization was that she was the chosen one. She could not control it, right? She was just a fact. She was chosen to sacrifice, to do these sacrifices to wash away our family sins and everybody else's around us. So she told us that she was doing good. However, I disagree because sacrificing anything with feelings in the heart is wrong, because it would be wrong for someone to come up to me and sacrifice me.
What source of education were you given? Were you attending public school in the midst of all this, or were you homeschooled?
During the rituals, age 0 to 8, I think we were pulled out of the Catholic school age 9, when I was 9 or 10. So I had the Catholic school in the beginning and during the rituals, and then when the rituals stopped and my mom decided I'm not going to do this anymore, I'm assuming for her to not, it's going to help her not get away with it by stopping it at a young enough age, right? And at that point, she quit religion cold turkey and took us from the private school and put us into public and put us into all these extracurricular activities.
Dealing with the abuse that you and your siblings endured, did you guys struggle at all in school? Were there behavioral issues? Did you have trouble making friends?
As far as my sisters, like, I don't know for sure, but they appeared to have done a lot better than me in school. They were also more under my mother's control. I struggled a lot, but I'm smart. For example, my mother would put me into a special ed class, and, you know, at this point I'm already in denial, and if I have my mother putting me in a special ed class, like, I kind of feel like there's something wrong with me.
That seems like a direct, deliberate move to, again, prevent you from being able to speak out about what was happening. People would doubt it because you're in a special ed class, or, you know, well, she's got some of these issues, so, like, she might say some crazy things sometimes, you know what I mean? That kind of seems like maybe that was on purpose.
I have so many stories like that. Like, I struggled with drug addiction due to my trauma, the scapegoating, the pointing the fingers at me from age 21 to 24, 16, 17 to 24, on and off. I'm 36 now. And that's another example of, you know, like, there's something wrong with Kibby. Like, she has this thing, but in all reality, my true self wouldn't use drugs. And I did it for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of examples like that, like, kind of like dumbing me down, pushing me in a corner where it looks like I'm not presentable to society or humanity.
Talk about what you would hear during some of these rituals. What would your mom say to you?
She would tie me up on a chair, and I would be like, no, don't. And she would say, you have to do this, you have to do this. So it's like a lot of like verbal abuse and direction. But I will speak on behalf of my most memory or experience, and that was with Sam, and she did speak to me during that ritual. And my mother, a big reason for her doing these sacrifices, in my observations and experiences, is for her to get off to it. In between rituals, she would essay us, and she would talk about the rituals, and that's how she would, like, get off. She got to a point where she would get off by making others do the deed as well. In cults, from my understanding, when people make something, do something so guilty, where they feel so guilty and shameful, they don't want to leave. So it was my turn when I was 5, almost 6, to solely sacrifice a child, and it was Sam, the 8-year-old. We just had dinner with him. I love Sam. I'll never stop loving Sam, and I'll never betray Sam. I think that he's a big reason why I'm here today recovering, because it was such a traumatic memory that I've held on. But during that ritual, we had dinner with Sam, and I thought he was my new brother, and I was so excited because I'm like, this brother, this 8-year-old's gonna save my brother.
I could type it in the
family.
command block,
And
but
after the ritual,
I don't want
things
to type in
changed
the copper
quick.
block. I want to
roles in my
actually
family
go get the goodies.
changed throughout the years. For example, my older sister started to graduate towards the cleanup role, which was my father's role. So during the exact ritual itself, my older sister wasn't there. I remember me on my right, my younger sister on the left. My mom was behind me, and she gave me a knife for my right hand, and she told me to do it to Sam. I wouldn't. I couldn't. And I thought either something really bad would happen to me, or Sam would get let go. So there was a lot of communication in this ritual. My mom was saying, you have to do it, you have to do it. And like I said, she always had this sense of urgency. She was just getting so mad at me. And I thought she was going to take my hand and make me do it myself. And that's not what happened. She gave it to somebody else who looked very disassociated and did it themselves.
Did your mom force you to eat Sam?
Yes. That was my consequence for not sacrificing Sam. And it wasn't the first time I was fed human flesh.
What?
Thankfully, my mother cooked it. I've heard of other stories where they don't. But because it was Sam, someone who I grew an attachment to, I feel like that was me drinking the Kool-Aid or taking sips. Like, that's kind of what enabled me, or a big factor, to go into denial, because I felt so guilty. And I will say, I didn't eat any of them fully. Like, I had this thing where I would chew it up, and then when my mom wasn't looking, I would put it under a blanket or in a milk glass. She never said anything to me about it, thank God. But I feel like I did that to help alleviate some of the guilt.
Sure.
And I think it might have worked, too.
Going through all of this, what was your biggest wish?
I knew there was so much beauty outside of my family. I didn't know how big satanic ritual abuse was. So my first wish was to become an artist and tell on my mother. And as I developed into a teenager, that came more like telling my story about my mother as well.
How old were you when you were finally able to escape?
I was 23 years old when I moved from Wisconsin, thousands of miles away. So I kind of look at that as like I physically escaped then, because I don't think I would have been able to recover at age 30 had I been close to my mom, because that's typically the way cults work a lot. I think having 7 years away from my family, and I had also gotten sober, but that wasn't good enough for me. I was still in denial. So I kind of look at it as like I physically got away at 24, but mentally, spiritually, emotionally, not until age 30. And I'm still on age 20.
You said that the last ritual that you witnessed was around 8. Between 8 and 23, when you escaped, did you guys ever talk about it? Like, was it just this elephant in the room of what had gone on all those years prior?
I think the first year or two,
I love these
maybe,
ladies.
it was like a small baby elephant. Like I was saying, like, we were in so much shame and guilt, like, we didn't want to talk about this, we were just kids. I do remember a time when I was about 10 years old, and my older sister, we were outside playing with chalk, and my older sister goes, remember when our family used to kill people? And I'm sitting there thinking, like, yeah, with shame. I didn't say anything in this particular incident, but my older sister looks up and goes, yeah. Afterwards, it was a lot of brainwashing and manipulating us into that it never happened, and it worked pretty well on my sisters, and it worked well on me too. But for me, I chose self-destruction.
Was your mom's personality kind of aloof and there was something different about her? Or, to all appearances, was she like this really charming, warm woman?
You would never guess on the outside that she would do these things. And I feel like one of her manipulation tactics as she's gotten older, especially, is to exhibit a persona which makes people confuse love for pity, if that makes sense. It enables or helps people to trust her more. Just her demeanor, the way she talks around, she's very friendly to people. During my teenage years, after the rituals, she put us in all these extracurricular activities, At volleyball, she was called Mamarazzi because she took all the pictures. She was like Girl Scout leader, like
Paparazzi, mamarazzi, that's
That's
genius.
interesting. She was a Girl Scout leader. How likely is it that she's that position to procure some of these children?
I don't think that she used that position to get the children. I think she, for anything that she made herself appear good, for example, taking the pictures at volleyball or having us kids travel around for volleyball, or showing that she's a good mom by putting us in these extracurricular activities. I don't think she did that to get children. I think she did that to make her persona like strong, reputable, kind, and like a good mother.
Has your healing process been pretty up and down? Like you're doing well, and then maybe you backslide a little bit, or has it been linear for you, where it's just gotten better over time?
As long as I prioritize my recovery, my faith, God, it is linear, but it doesn't feel like it. Now, are there times that I'm not as close with God? Yes, absolutely. I don't think recovery is linear, but in a sense, I kind of feel like
You
it is.
fucking
Because
idiot.
when someone keeps trudging and going
You
forward,
fucking idiot.
like,
Get the fuck away.
they do get better, but by all means, it does not feel linear. Like, I will go through a week of feeling safe and free, and then I'll go through a week of not, and hardships. Another thing that happens during my healing era are my friends rotate a lot. So that's something that brings a lot of grief, and then I do the footwork to find more supportive friends. So there's a lot of ups and downs emotionally, but I do feel like if I prioritize my recovery and my faith, I am growing.
In the spirit of Halloween, one of the spookiest things is walking past a store and it just smells like a fragrance bomb went off. I remember working at Hollister in high school, and once an hour, we were required to spray their perfume on the clothes. Once an hour, in that tomb. Not only were the employees all breathing that in, but the clothes us teens were buying were saturated in chemicals that we now know completely destroy your hormones and affect fertility. It is amazing that millennials are having so many issues getting pregnant, isn't it? No more artificial fragrance in my life, period. I use Olivia for my body wash and my hand soap. 100% organic, non-toxic, prebiotic body and hand wash, which feeds the skin's delicate microbiome. If you struggle with sensitivity to synthetic fragrance and chemicals, eczema, psoriasis, or burns, this body wash is going to change your life. Everyone from a baby to grandma can use Olivia. They have a brand new balsam fir hand wash coming for the holidays. Only real fragrance, of course. Go to Olivia.com, use code ALEX15 for 15% off. That's Olivia.com with code ALEX15 for 15% off the best organic prebiotic body wash. And you can get a little tiny travel size one too, which I pop in my purse or I pop in my carry-on, and that's what I use for my body wash and hand soap when I travel. Did you know that almost all that meat at the grocery store that says made in the USA was actually just shipped over from another country? Yeah, our laws make it so they can say that they're made in the USA, even if all they did was wrap it up and place it on the styrofoam in the States. At
You fucking idiot, get over
GoodRanchers.com,
it.
you can make a powerful choice to vote for American meat, support American agriculture, and make your voice heard for transparency in our food. Good Ranchers sources all their meat exclusively from American farms and ranchers, which not only supports local ranchers, but also ensures that you receive high-quality American-raised meat, no antibiotics, no added hormones, or seed oils ever. Try their brand new seed oil and antibiotic-free chicken nuggets. These are the only kind like it in America or abroad. If you start a subscription with Good Ranchers today, for a limited time, you can get a free meat add-on to your box for a whole 4 years, basically until the next election. That means when you subscribe to any of Good Ranchers boxes, you get to decide if you want to add extra plain chicken breast to each box, Angus ground beef, Applewood pork bacon, or wild-caught salmon. That's every order for 4 years. Every cut is pre-trimmed, individually packed, vacuum sealed, which makes your life a lot easier. I love that their chicken breasts are ready to go. You do not have to trim all that weird stuff off. No more wasted food because of freezer burn or poor store packaging. Good Ranchers helps you get the most flavor and value out of every ounce of meat you buy, and in this economy, that matters more each day. Go to GoodRanchers.com, use code Clark for a discount. That's GoodRanchers.com with code Clark. Good Ranchers, American meat delivered. Most of us aren't lawyers. We aren't required to show up to every argument we're invited to. That is my favorite advice to share and remind people of every debate season. Some of us are cut cut out for confrontational discussions about our values. Some of us aren't. Honestly, I prefer not to. I know everybody's surprised by that because of what I do for a living, but I actually hate getting into debates. That's just not my forte. It's not my strength. I would rather support brands that share my values instead. Like organic cotton tampons from conservative-owned Garnu. This is such an easy way to make a difference.
I don't know if I'm into...
What would you say to somebody listening to this interview who is in that state of denial about their own abuse?
I would say that I don't want to tell anybody to live their lives, but I think that that's an individual decision for somebody to make. If I don't know if I'm in denial, I want to explore that, right? So I think it's a personal, individual decision. Do I want to look at my trauma and see who or what I can become? Or do I want to just live my life the best way that I can?
You've only been sharing your story for the last couple months?
Since April.
Kibby, that is phenomenal. You are doing so well. Like, I am blown away by your ability to tell this story, and get through this, and that's really hard, because it's every time you tell it, I mean, do you feel like it feels like you're releasing it, or does it feel like you're reliving it?
Since I started recovery 5 or 6 years ago, I knew I wanted to do that since I was a kid, right? And now as I'm doing it, it is different from what I expected. And at sometimes I feel like I'm reliving it, and at other times, oh my gosh, I'm healing so much. For example, one of my coping mechanisms because of all this was chewing up food and spitting it out, like also known as a disordered eating. I did it during my years of denial. Where I got that behavior from, I'm assuming from being, the cannibalism and how I spit that out, because I felt so shameful about it. I have a podcast. I talked about it on an episode. Before releasing it, I was so scared. I was nauseous. I actually did throw up. But afterwards, it was so healing. But then there are other times that I feel like I am reliving it, and it may not be conductive to my health, my mental and emotional and spiritual health. And that's something I'm going through right now, is finding my boundaries with what to share, when, and where.
Are you involved in regular therapy or survivor groups?
My main healing pillars are, I am in therapy. I have declined scientific approaches, maybe because my whole experience was so spiritual. I want a spiritual approach. I'm also a very imaginative person. I'm an artist, so visualization works well for me.
What does a spiritual approach mean, like a Christian counselor or something else?
So for me, because I was so religiously abused, obviously Jesus was used against me. I used the 12-step programs. My parents obviously didn't teach me how to live, and there are many deeper level programs in the 12-step communities. And my main program is adult children of alcoholics and dysfunction. That is one of my main healing pillars. And then I go to therapy, but I tell her, like, I'm here to talk to you and support. I'm not here for you to tell me my reality or to narrate my story. I'm very picky about my therapist. Main thing I look for is if they're a good person and they've done the work themselves. So therapy is a component of my healing. Also faith. I have such a strong faith in our Lord, God, whatever his name is. But religiously, my mother lied to me. My mother lied to me about Jesus. And I'm on a spiritual path with God right now. And I want to know the truth. And I don't know that the world is lying to me. So this is going to take me some time. I will say, Scripture and the Bible, in addition to the 12-step programs that I work, there is some amazing insight and wisdom in there that helps me live my life and be a better person. And I am so appreciative of that.
Yeah.
Although I'm not at a place where I can say I'm religious.
When was the last time you talked to your mom or your sisters?
The last time I talked to my older sister was in 2019. I confronted her about the abuse. She called me delusional. She said I was a drug addict, extremely mentally ill. She accused me of being on LSD, and she hoped that I wouldn't end up on the side of the street dead. So that conversation didn't go very well. My younger sister and I actually started working the trauma together.
Really? So does she live near you?
No, she's back in Wisconsin. Both of them are very enmeshed. Like, my two older sisters work together. Like, they live within 10 miles of each other. They're very...
How are they able to maintain being close when the one won't talk to you, but the other one does, and one is willing to do trauma therapy with you, but the other one won't?
My younger one, actually the only one in my family I've ever loved, is my younger sister. This was back in 2018, so she, I'm like telling her, like, hey, I'm in these 12-step programs, like, there's this thing where, like, I can find out about my past, are you in? And she's like, yes, I've noticed mom's controlling, and we kind of started it together, and once we got to the point where I told her, my first memory was of my father sacrificing a child, because, I think it was too painful for me to remember my mother. I told her that, and at that point, she bounced.
Are they still in communication with your mom?
Yes. And to piggyback on your last question, I have still remained a relationship with my younger sister, very minimal, about as thin as dental floss. And throughout the past 5 or 6 years, as I've been doing extensive healing, she's told me she respects that I've looked at my trauma. She doesn't want to know about it, and we kind of tried having a relationship around it. But to me, it got to a point where it's like I can't connect to my younger sister, the person I love, and it hurt me. And then ever since speaking out, I mean, our relationship was already basically at text messages for holidays and birthdays. So when I started speaking out, I haven't heard a single word from any of them.
When was the last time you spoke to your mom?
Via text message. I have asked her questions. Mostly since speaking out. Like, the first 2 months, they didn't know I was speaking out. And my audience would ask me questions that I didn't know, because sometimes they're more informed about this type of abuse than I am. Oftentimes, actually. So I'd go back and ask my mom questions, and she would answer them. I don't know how much of it was true or not true. But then once I found out that they found out that I've been sharing all this, it's just crickets, and I'm not going to reach back out.
Do either of your sisters have kids, or are they married?
My older sister has 2 biological kids. They are all, they're like 14 and maybe like 9 or 10.
Do you trust your mom around those kids?
No.
Do you think she lets your mom be around them?
I know she does.
Do you think that your mom, even now, as I'm sure much older, would commit any of the same acts?
My nephew plays gymnastics, and during my years of denial, I would go back and visit because I thought I loved my mom. My nephew would go to practice twice a week. No other parents watched, right? My mom's the only one watching every single practice, and it does scare me. And not gonna lie, what I experienced, I believe, is transgenerational. From everything I've learned, if I don't heal from my trauma, I can hurt others. Whether it may not be sacrificing children, I can heavily shame, I can emotionally incest, I can be mean, be a bad person, right? If I don't heal myself.
Do you celebrate Halloween?
No, I don't know the origins around it. I'm not educated about it. And so I'd rather just kind of stay away.
Do you avoid scary movies and things like that, or are you able to watch it?
I don't watch because the suspense is too much for me. It's stressful.
Do you think that there is a lot of satanic subliminal messaging that pops up in pop culture and entertainment, or is it just like superstitious stuff from people who have no idea about the realities of like what a satanic cult really is?
I absolutely believe that. I believe that art is a projection. For example, American Horror Stories, the latest season, I personally haven't seen it, but a show is art, right?
Cowbell.
And art is a projection, which is a confession. So, although someone may call it mockery, to me it's a confession. One thing I ask myself is, if they're not doing it to hypnotize, brainwash, whatever you want to call it, to us, what are they doing it for?
What do you know about Bohemian
I don't. I'm uneducated in that. You see, I feel like I spent my 20s surviving, my 30s healing, and I'm just
And now people are just asking you all these like random questions.
And it's like, I have a lot to learn. I do believe that from what I've seen and heard, rituals have happened there.
What do you know about adrenochrome? Is that real?
Yes. And I say that because of survivors I know, and also I will say it's an assumption because I have nothing factual to show you, and in my experience, I didn't remember my mom using that word. However, she would have us drink the blood on occasion.
What is your response to the doubters, to people who think that you're making all of this up? How does that make you feel to know that they think this is a made-up story?
I have compassion and empathy for people who have lived a very good life and just cannot fathom this, right? I feel everybody is entitled to their own opinion, and if somebody doesn't want to believe this, I'm not here for them. I'm not here to convince them. I'm here to show other people who are capable of seeing this truth. Now, when somebody gets defensive and starts attacking me, and I could tell you many stories about that, that raises many red flags to me.
That maybe they're in denial about something that happened to them?
Or they're protecting the perpetrators, or they're a perpetrator themselves.
Based on your experience, how do you think we heal a sick culture?
And that's what I love about you, is that you want to better humanity. I think that we need to normalize getting help on both spectrums. It is not normalized for me to get help as a victim of satanic ritual abuse, and it's absolutely not normalized for the perpetrators to get help. In my opinion, these perpetrators are extreme narcissists. Our society doesn't even normalize getting help for narcissism. In fact, we point fingers and say they're scum, that they can't heal. We don't know that because we're not giving them the space. We're not giving them acceptance, love, and hope. If we can't even do that with narcissists, how are we going to do that with perpetrators? If we can't lock them up, there's no hard evidence to do so. And I always feel like in my personal life, the first step to any problem is awareness, and that's one reason why I'm sharing my story is I want to be a part of the change towards awareness. But what happens next, right? Well, for one, we're not there yet. But I do think we need to normalize getting help.
What does happen next for Kibby? The next 30 years. What do you hope your next 30 years look like?
I hope I continue to heal, spread awareness, honor my inner child dreams.
Fuck, that was close. That's so cool.
Not hurt myself in the process. I also want to experience things that I've missed out on due to the trauma I experienced, such as finding Mr. Right, potentially a child. I'm 36 now. If it's too late one day, I would love to maybe even adopt someone from the foster care system, because in my opinion, it's not the healthiest system. I want, the happiest life, because I feel like I deserve it.
You do deserve it. You deserve it. I'm so proud of you for sharing a story and coming out here. I know that was a really big deal.
I don't know, I feel like I've seen this before.
Learn more about you and your healing journey.
Maybe I tried to subscribe, but I couldn't.
Right now, I'm on social media, Instagram, TikTok, and there I show clip-bits of my story and answer questions to the audience.
And what's your Instagram and TikTok?
Kibby Linda. I have a podcast called She Got Away. I spent the first 9 episodes getting a lot out of it. Oh my gosh, it has helped me heal so much. And I might continue it where it's more discussion based.
Okay, perfect. We'll put all the links for Kibby in the show notes, and also some links for resources that Kibby approves for anyone who's endured or survived childhood abuse.
One thing I do have to say to people is, for anyone who's not educated with satanic ritual abuse, Ramco, the occult, whatever you want to call it, it's the only type of abuse that I know of that has so many different names but is listed as a conspiracy theory. I encourage people not to look at Google for information about this, because it is listed as a conspiracy theory.
And it's not a conspiracy theory. You learned it.
And I encourage people to listen to testimonies and other stuff, which I am happy to provide you with those resources.
Thank you so much, Kibby, for coming on Culture Apothecary.
Thanks for having me. It's been such an honor.
That will go down in history as one of the most difficult stories that I've ever heard as an interviewer. And as I told Kibby after I wrapped, her story deserves to be heard. And I'm very proud of her. Maybe you believe her story, maybe you listened and you don't. But child abuse does happen, and just because it is horrific to discuss doesn't mean that it shouldn't be discussed at all. This episode is in honor of Sam. Every Monday and Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, a different guest shares their remedy to heal illicit culture, physically, emotionally, or spiritually. Don't forget that we...
Asking the question, do you believe in life after life?
Oh my. Of course, I believe in life after life.
What do you think happens when you die?
I think that you go to heaven, and that the Lord accepts you, and your body's still here on earth, but your soul is in heaven.
What do you think happens when you die?
I don't believe in life after death necessarily. I do think there's a lot we don't understand. Is there life after life? I really don't feel that there's any way that we could possibly know until we're there.
Yes, I definitely believe that our soul is a very powerful, emotional thing, and I just can't believe that when our body dies, that's the end.
Do you believe in life after life?
I do, yeah. I've had a lot of family members that have had experiences with people like coming back after they've died, so yeah, I do.
What do you think the nature of the afterlife is?
You know, I'm not sure. I feel like people, maybe like their spirits still exist.
Damn, girl.
And they're just kind of with the people they love.
There are a million ways to die. Perhaps 2 million. Perhaps even more. In fact, we don't even know how many ways there are to die. But one thing we do know is that a high percentage of those who die have what is commonly known as a near-death experience. Many people report going up a tunnel and seeing heavenly bodies bathed in bright light. And a good number see their life flash before them in a life review and even enter a heavenly realm. We have many representations of near-death experiences all around us. Artists down through history and in every culture have been there to record these heavenly encounters. It's as though mankind takes a common path to heaven and always has. I know all about near-death experiences because I have written about them, 9 books in all, with a number of the field's top researchers. I have looked at death in many ways and in many cultures. Yet, funny thing, in all the years I have studied and written about death, I have rarely thought that it would ever happen to me. Most of the time I thought that I would always be here, a permanent inhabitant of the living world. What was it Sigmund Freud said? When we attempt to imagine death, we perceive ourselves as spectators. Like most everyone else, I too imagine myself as a spectator. I hid behind my writing, safe from mortality. I had a box seat in the stadium of mankind, an eternal observer in the game of life. Then, reality paid me a visit. It was a beautiful day with spectacular light and clean air. It was, as they say, a good day to die. I was out taking a walk in the desert, when, out of nowhere, my heart began to race fast and hard like a runaway engine. Before long, I was down and out. In a lucid moment, I realized that I could easily become the subject of my own work. I imagined what that would be like by remembering stories used in the books I had written. No longer did I believe that the only thing wrong with immortality was that it goes on forever, or that it was a fate worse than death. I wanted real answers to the age-old question, what happens when we die? I decided to go to people who knew firsthand what happens, near-death experiencers. Accidents or illness had brought these people to the brink of death. They had looked down into the abyss and found it to be, well, quite pleasant actually. If not, why were they laughing all the time? I also went to researchers who had analyzed thousands of these near-death experiences and who had come up with some amazing conclusions about God, heaven, and the afterlife. These were guys I had written books with. Funny, isn't it? I always thought I was writing those books for other people, not myself. And then I talked to people all over the country and from all walks of life, just to see what the person on the street thought about death and the hereafter. Their answers were proof that I was not the only one thinking about the big question.
I don't really believe in any kind of afterlife of any kind. I think, when you die, you go back to wherever you were before you were born,
I hope that you go to heaven. I think that you do. I never thought there was anything wrong with just at least believing that you go to heaven. It's not going to do you any harm, so I hope so.
Yeah, well, I think that we're spiritual beings that have existed before this time and exist beyond this time, and this just happens to be where we're most aware.
I really don't agree with the whole life after death thing, because if it really was life after death, what's the point of even being alive?
I think that there's some sort of afterlife. Your spirit goes somewhere. Honestly, I don't know.
Faith is validated. Well, validated in my research.
In order to get a modern-day impression of this subject, it is best to spend time with the scientists who are studying this phenomenon now. Perhaps the best scientific work is being done by Dr. Jeffrey Long. We co-wrote the book Evidence of the Afterlife, which is filled with his astounding findings about death and the beyond. Yes, I did say beyond. As the founder of the Near-Death Experience Research Foundation, also known as NDERF, Dr. Long has investigated thousands of near-death experience case studies worldwide. His conclusion? There is most definitely an afterlife.
The question, that really important question of what happens when we die, I certainly have my opinion, and I've not been shy about sharing that opinion. I think there's an afterlife for all of us, and I think that afterlife is wonderful. But I think what's even more important is why I believe that. What evidence is there? What is that line of thinking? What is that chain of evidence? What have we consistently observed in multiple studies, including the NDERF study, that leads me to believe that? And I think it's those 9 lines of evidence that, to me, personally, are compelling evidence that we all are going to have an afterlife, that is something that we're all going to experience. Our consciousness, who we are, is going to survive our bodily death. We're going to go on into an afterlife which so many near-death experiencers have heard from, call it their real home. One of the death experiencers have heard from, call it their real home. One of the most significant lines of evidence I have that near-death experiences prove the existence of an afterlife is the out-of-body observations that near-death experiencers make. Nearly half of people who have a near-death experience will have an out-of-body state. We'll call it an OBE. During that time, their consciousness rises up, and usually from an area above their body, they can observe. And their consciousness rises up, and usually from an area above their body, they can observe both their own body, often frantic resuscitation efforts, and other earthly ongoing events going on. Again, at a time that they're often clinically dead. Part of my study was to look at 617 near-death experiences. We found 287 of those near-death experiences involved observations of earthly, everyday events at this time when they were unconscious or dead. And to my considerable surprise, we found that an unbelievable 97.6% of the time, every observation that they were making, everything that they shared in our survey, in their narrative form, was realistic. In other number of people that described a near-death experience while they're under general anesthetic. To understand how amazing that is, understand that when you have a cardiac arrest, you have no potential for a conscious experience. But also, when you're under general anesthesia, you're under a blanket of complete sleep. You have no potential to have any kind of memory, any kind of conscious awareness because of the general anesthesia. But put the two together, if you will, there's doubly no reason for you to have any memory or any conscious experience. And yet, that is when these near-death experiencers describe their experience. We know that's true because they typically describe in the out-of-body state during their near-death experience, with their consciousness above the body, they see, and some have described dramatically, their electrocardiogram, a measure of heart electrical activity, flatlining. There's the immediate frantic resuscitation efforts that they watch from their ringside seat above their body. And as time goes on, they go on and have a typical near-death experience. But in our study, we found 23 near-death experiencers that had their experiences while under general anesthesia. I compared 33 elements of the near-death experience to other NDEs, that being experiences not associated with general anesthesia. And the conclusion, the take-home lesson from my study was the two groups of near-death experiences are essentially identical. Absolutely amazing. Near-death experiences happen, and they are typical near-death experiences, even if they occur under general anesthesia. To me personally, I am astounded when I encounter near-death experiences that occur in the blind that involve vision, but especially near-death experiencers in those born blind. I've interviewed a near-death experiencer who was born blind, never had any visual perception during her entire life, and yet when she had a car accident at the age of 22, all of a sudden she had vision, and described in great detail what her body looked like in the emergency room table below, went on to describe a typically highly visual experience. And again, there's absolutely no medical explanation for this possible. In my research, I found that a fully 96% of the time near-death experiencers described meeting familiar beings that they knew from their earthly life, that these beings were deceased at the time of the near-death experience. And actually what's interesting is the number of near-death experiences where they encountered somebody who seemed familiar, but they didn't know who it was. And only when the near-death experiencer looked at old family portraits, all of a sudden they would go, aha, that's the individual from my near-death experience, say a great-grandfather, a great-grandmother, people that they never even met in their life. And yet there, by studying old family portraits, later on, after their experience, suddenly connect the dots and realize dramatically that that was who they encountered. We found in our study of near-death experiences, not only from just around the world, but even in very different cultures,
scaffolding.
Western cultures, the near-death experience seems to be basically the same. Near-death experiences are far more similar than they are dissimilar. It's amazing to think, whether you're an Arab in Saudi Arabia, or a Hindu in India, or a Christian in the United States, the core NDE experience, what happens when you nearly die, that elements of the near-death experience, all seem to be the same. This puts me out, if you will, a little bit on a limb. Here I am as a physician who's actually studied near-death experiences and making an amazing claim. The evidence is so strong that certainly to me it proves the existence of an afterlife. For thousands of years, the great religions have said, take on faith that we have life after death. Take on faith that there's more than just what you see and live in our earthly existence, that you are more, that you are a magnificent being that lives on and on after you die. The incredible thing is, for thousands of years, that message of faith, every shred of research I have, is validated. In other words, it seems to be true, that there really is life after death.
If you want to find a concentration of NDEers, you might try going to one of their conventions. This one, the International Association of Near-Death Studies, is the largest of the associations. They get together every year for fellowship and lectures. And yes, to tell their stories. If you ever had doubt that heaven awaits you, a day at an IONS conference will erase that. The NDEers in the group, those who have actually died and lived to tell the tale, are so anxious to tell their story of death and rebirth that they wear a red dot on their name tags so they can be recognized. I nabbed the first 4 red dots I saw and asked them for interviews. What I heard made my jaw drop. First up was Martha St. Clair from Salem, Oregon. In 1974, she was water skiing on the Sacramento River when her arm got wrapped in the rope. She was dragged underwater and nearly drowned.
I found myself going through a dark tunnel. It felt like I had been there before, and I had the sense that I was going home. There was gorgeous flowers and colors that you don't see on Earth. It's like I had my body, but it wasn't a physical body. It was like kind of like a light body. I didn't really look at my body, but I sensed it was like full of light. And I found myself in the universe, just stars and galaxies, and it felt completely normal, like I was home. Boom, I was just back in my body. There was no no, please, can I come? It wasn't any agreement. Just boom, I'm back in my body. And I didn't really know what to do with my experience. Back then, this was a year before any near-death experience books had come out. I had heard nothing about it. And when I told my family about it, even though they could see my arm was damaged, they were like, that didn't happen to you. It frightened them. They didn't want to hear about it. I really had no one to talk to about it. Now I have a counseling practice, and I comfort people with hospice. And the main thing about my near-death experience is that I've always felt my whole life much more connected to the other side. But I'm always tuned into heaven. I'm always tuned into that energy. I have no fear of death whatsoever. And I can't wait to go home again. Jesus said that in my house there are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you so. So I only tapped into a small part of a huge universe, but I believe there's different places, and that's why people go to so many different levels of consciousness. So how do you know you weren't just having this hallucinogenic high experience? However, in my hippie days, I've had some drug experiences, not extensive, but enough to know this was nothing like that. And I've had acid. Never was crazy about it. Nothing like that. There's nothing that compares to know this was nothing like that. And I've had acid. Never was crazy about it. Nothing like that. And I've had acid. Never was crazy about it. Nothing like that. There's nothing that compares to this divine light that we see. And the thing is, that happens to our soul. It happens to our soul. So I feel glad I can tell you that. Glad I can share it with you, and I know it's true because I've had the other experiences too.
Then there was Gary Guthrie, who had a near-death experience in 1982 in South Africa as the result of a blood infection.
I became very sick. I thought, well, this is just the flu or something. And New Year's Eve came, and I spent the night partying and went to bed about 3 a.m. and at 6 a.m. I woke up with tremendous, the blood was really getting to my heart. It was going awfully fast, and it was that moment I thought I was going to die. So I just prepared myself to die. And it was that moment that I looked out of the window, and I saw the sky opening and a light coming through. 20 minutes later, I was just in tears, and this was not normal for me, and I realized that this had been something divine. The light was unlike any light that you see here. It was unlike any light I've ever experienced before. It was very loving and very healing, and it embraced you in its warmth and its love. And,
I gotta
it's nothing I had ever experienced before that or since.
I gotta start digging.
30 at the time. I was teaching school, teaching overseas. I was working in the Philippines and living a very Hugh Hefner kind of life. But the near-death experience changed all that. I began to think more deeply about, well, why am I here and what is life all about? And where do we go after this life? For about a week after my near-death experience, I had sort of a vision as I was going about my daily activities of what life could be like in South Africa. I felt that people did have a love for each other and they showed kindness toward
Came back,
towards
yo.
each other, and that there was a united feeling among each other, which on the surface wasn't true, but I could see it as sort of what the future is going to be like in South Africa. The light speaks to people in different ways. It's
Okay, if you do that, it's this, and if you just hit it to the, does it get to the tree capitator thing? I'll leave this book so when we, I need that one. We'll leave it out. Your husband loves Borderlands 4. I want to play Borderlands 4. It's coming up very, very soon. Both boys are legit. They are actually out there. You know, they're play Borderlands 4. It's coming up very, very soon. Both boys are legit. They are actually out there. You know, Borderlands 4. It's coming up very, very soon.
Oh, okay.
Both boys are legit. They are actually out there. You know, they have to be in the top 5. If they're not in the top 5, then you know you have it wrong with this. Your list is incorrect. Okay, that's what's happening right now. Well, thank you for coming to my TED Talk on my favorite ships. We'll do a tier list and we'll do like a top 50 one day. What is that? I just did the top 5, but we'll be there all day. Your husband loves Borderlands 4. I want to play Borderlands 4. That's coming up very. I go in there. Okay, they're in there. Ranchers, E-Tubs is in the discussion going into the top 10 after 5. They're out there. They're in there. Okay, they're in there. There's so many. I just did the top 5. But we'll be there all day. Your husband loves Borderlands 4. I want to play Borderlands 4. It's coming up very, very soon. Both boys are legit. They are actually out there. They have to be in the top 5. If they're not in the top 5, then.
You fucker, get over there. Oh, murder tunnels.
Wow. Did you find any money? Did you find the treasure down here?
We're still looking.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool.
We're underground here. You can see this was the main entrance, I think. They had a canopy here. You can see the paint.
Interesting. Wow. But this has been walled off.
Yes, there was a tunnel.
Interesting. And so, was this connected in some way to a greater tunnel system?
Oh, yeah. You could end up at City Hall from here. Right?
Okay, if this blocked tunnel did lead to City Hall during Capone's day, it might show that the mobster had a secret underground way of getting to politicians, who most people believe he had in his pocket. Wow. So I'm going to try and find the other side of this tunnel by tracing it back, starting at City Hall. The city is allowing me to explore these tunnels underneath the city building and beyond, as long as I share my mapping data, since 3/4 of the underground tunnels in Chicago have never officially been mapped.
The utility bowels of City Hall. Mount up, huh?
The Leica Pegasus backpack shoots out millions of lasers per second and records the time they take to bounce back to the unit. While it does that, it takes hundreds of photos per second.
This is so great.
All of that data combined creates a 3D map in real time, as Matthew Lewis, a tunnel coordinator for trans systems, leads me through the unmapped section of the Chicago underworld to determine if Capone and his gang of mobsters really did have a direct connection to City Hall. I'm also curious if these tunnels lead to a wider network of underground pathways branching throughout the city.
Goodness, these are the tunnels under City Hall here. This part's lit. See all these. Man, that's incredible. Oh. Here's the intersection. Alright. So this is where it gets dark.
Yes.
So we're leaving the City Hall tunnels, and this is the streets.
Correct.
Can I head out there on my own?
Help yourself.
Okay. East tunnel system beneath his headquarters there is connected to this whole system beneath Chicago. So that means basically the Mafia can control Chicago from these tunnel systems. Here we go. Look at this. American cities are known to have thousands of miles of hidden underworlds burrowed beneath them. I'm deep into the amazing 60-mile tunnel network underneath downtown Chicago that may very well have connected Al Capone's hideout straight to City Hall. As I'm walking through this criminal underbelly, I'm using groundbreaking LiDAR technology to map it. And I'm pretty sure I've now entered a murky section of uncharted territory. Check this out. You got 1, 2, 3 tunnels all branching off. It's insane to think that the entire above ground has a kind of mirror below ground. And of course, the criminal element would have known this, the Mafia would have known. They could use this whole system to their advantage, working stuff down here, running around, always out of sight. I mean, who knows if they're paying off? So this is basically their domain, you know, this world down here. The underworld. The criminal underworld. Here we go, look at this. Chamber of Horrors. Amazing. That sort of all blows up right here. Look at this thing. Look at these stalactites. Just the line that's come down over the years. That's crazy. Capone was responsible for so many deaths in Chicago. Estimates vary, but some say it's as many as 700. It just makes you wonder, were any of those murders committed down here?
Yeah.
I cannot see the end of any of these tunnels. Let's just go down this way, because I have no idea where I am. You could spend your life down here. I mean, really. I mean, I'm completely lost. It seems to be getting smaller. The whole tunnel system changes in size. Larger to smaller to even smaller, and then it gets down there claustrophobic. These tunnels would have been the perfect location for shuttling cash, booze, even bodies during the infamous decade that Capone ruled Chicago, before the feds finally put him behind bars on tax evasion charges. What the hell is this? Damn.
On Alcatraz. He was on Alcatraz.
Dead end. Dead end.
Did he die at Alcatraz? Hold on. Did Al Capone die at Alcatraz? Did Al Capone die at Alcatraz? Fucking idiots. Died at Alcatraz. He was released from prison in 1939 and died of cardiac arrest at his home in Palm Island, Florida. That's right, I forgot all about that. In January 1947. Can't wait to meet him someday.
Just like so, it stops. There you go. So this is a blocked off access here to another tunnel beyond. I mean, reports are that there is another that sort of extends beyond the known tunnels, and that these would have been used, quite possibly, by those, you know, criminal elements.
Criminal elements. Fucking putas acting like it's all wrong.
Who knows how many miles of Chicago Underground?
I need to be a human trafficker.
Data over the streets and see how far this network of tunnels goes.
Ooh.
And if now that I've mapped who knows how many miles of the Chicago Underground, I want to lay the LiDAR mapping data over the streets and see how far this network of tunnels goes, and if it once could have connected Al Capone straight to City Hall, where he secretly paid off politicians. just lay over the map from the Pegasus of the underground, just like so. Wow, look at that. That's amazing. It's insane how much of a mirror image the above ground is to the below. Of course, it was not made for nefarious purposes, but inevitably, these tunnels are used by criminal networks to keep their business out of the public eye. You know, and that was what it was all about, having access to the points they needed, the courthouses, the warehouses, the cops, and then use those undergrounds to move people and goods around the city, even underneath the Chicago River. Imagine how useful around
Chicago River?
warehouses, the cops, and then use those undergrounds to move people and goods around the city, even underneath the Chicago River. Imagine how useful that was in Prohibition. Examining the scans here, you can see that the tunnel from City Hall connects to this larger network of passageways, running at least 60 miles beneath Chicago. This really seems to show that as Al Capone ruled every part of the city, transporting countless cases of bootleg booze and committing unspeakable crimes, he was probably doing it from the underground. Now I'm curious, with this new LiDAR technology, what other dark crimes can I illuminate? How about the most infamous cold case in American history? The passageways and tunnels crisscrossing beneath America's cities have earned the nickname murder tunnels because of the ways they've been used to commit the darkest of deeds. So when a former police officer invited me to come and take a look at tunnels in LA that he thinks are connected to one of the most infamous cold cases in U.S. history, how could I say no? Perhaps exploring these twisted tunnels can shed light on the famous case known as the Black Dahlia murder.
What?
Before I meet with this policeman, I want to catch a glimpse of what may have been the backdrop for this gruesome killing.
Fuck you.
The LA Underground. So I'm heading for the now defunct Belmont Tunnel. It will lead me close to where it may have all started back in January 1947. Ooh, that is spooky. This place is spooky.
Oh, wait.
It's like a horror film.
That scared the shit out of me.
You know, what am I? Probably 20, 30 feet below surface here. All of Los Angeles is going on over my head. And down here is an entirely different world. One of the most densely populated cities in the country, in the world, really. And yet we're down here completely alone. Listen to the sound of that. You can hear the city above me. Hear the buses and the trucks going overhead. Today, Los Angeles is famous for its nightmarish traffic. But back in the Golden Age, Tinseltown had one of the biggest and most efficient public transit systems in America. Buried beneath the streets, this forgotten maze of subterranean shafts could once have transported you from downtown LA all the way to the Pacific Ocean. So could these tunnels possibly be connected to the Black Dahlia murder? That's crazy. It never stops. I'm about a mile in here, and I could just keep on going. Not far from the Belmont Tunnel entrance where I came in, the Biltmore Hotel was a key location in the Black Dahlia murder.
Lord, I want.
This is the Biltmore Hotel. Back in 1923, when it was first built, if you were the VIPs, if you were the glitterati, the starlets, the power brokers, or the mobsters, everybody who was anybody wanted to be seen in this building. I mean, this is really kind of where big-time Hollywood was invented. But right up here, this was where Elizabeth Short, the Black Dahlia, was last seen alive. It gives you tingles to stand in a place like this. The Black Dahlia murder was last seen alive.
God damn, that's loud.
But right up here, this was where Elizabeth Short was last seen alive. It gives you tingles to stand in a place like this. The Black Dahlia murder is one of the most horrifying unsolved crimes in American history. Nicknamed the Black Dahlia by the newspapers because of her inclination to wear pitch black dresses, an aspiring actress named Elizabeth Short strolled into the Biltmore Hotel on January 9, 1947, and a week later, her dead body was found in a vacant lot in the Leimert Park neighborhood several miles away. The corners of her mouth were carved into a grisly smile, and a tattoo she had on her hip had been sliced off. But most shockingly, her body had been dismembered, bisected at the waist with surgical precision. And the killer was never caught. That murder remains unsolved to this day.
Oh.
A meeting with ex-cop Buzz Williams, whose father investigated the Black Dahlia murder back in the 40s.
What?
And Buzz has continued his dad's work to this day.
That's cool.
What a place, huh? Yeah. There are many theories about who killed the Black Dahlia. But Buzz believes this heinous crime could be related to the tunnels beneath Los Angeles. Tell me what you got here.
These are the original reports.
No kidding. Your dad's original police report of who he suspected was the killer of the Black Dahlia.
Right.
Wow. Okay. Officer's memorandum. This is from January of 1947. Okay.
That's the suspect my dad was sure killed her. Leslie Wayne Dillon.
Why did your dad suspect him? What was his deal?
He was a member of a gang, and this was where they had all their parties and things like that. The connection was she was the girlfriend of one or more guys in this gang, and Leslie Wayne Dillon was sent to kill her because she knew too much.
All right, there you go. And Leslie Dillon was also a bellhop at this very hotel. The last place Elizabeth Short was seen alive. Buzz believes that Leslie would have known about a hidden feature of this room, where Short was partying.
Oh.
Look at that. A secret door in the back, which led to a labyrinth of corridors and passageways.
Oh.
You want a little mystery in your life? Here you go. The theory is that Leslie Dillon could have lured Elizabeth Short behind this door, and then moved in secret through the passageways, which Buzz believes may have had a connection point to the Los Angeles underground. So here's the idea. I'm going to access the basement spaces below the building. I'm going to map this out and try to find the underground connection to the vast netherworld below the streets of LA. If we can access the abandoned tunnels from the Biltmore, then I can map the tunnel system and see if the murderer could plausibly have taken Elizabeth Short all the way from this hotel to the neighborhood where he left her body, several miles away. But before we can start mapping, we've got to figure out which one of these passages leads underground. No, not that one. No. Yeah, look at that. I'm in the utility tunnels below the Biltmore Hotel in Los Angeles. The backdrop for one of the most grisly, unsolved cases in United States history. The Black Dahlia murder. It gets real junky over here. There's a lot of stuff to bang your head on.
Oh, that is so fucking
Watch
cool.
out for this minefield. Okay. This LiDAR technology is reading the shape of this tunnel, and I'm recording a map, basically, that I'm hoping to use with an overlay of the maps of the LA Underground and see if this tunnel connects in with larger underground of LA. I mean, if that's true, the Black Dahlia may have disappeared right down this tunnel. And Leslie Dillon, a bellhop who worked here, may have used this very space to move the victim's body to its final resting spot in Leimert Park. You can tell there was a time when it was as claustrophobic. This is the original wall right here, and this entire duct system has been added, which has narrowed this hallway. But there was a time that this was much longer passage. All right. There's a huge hole here you could fall into, so careful. Are you ready for this? Because we're going into a much tighter space. Let's see what happens. There's a hard one right here, and then there's another one behind that, so. You with me? Here's the dead end. You can tell there's a much bigger tunnel around me that just keeps going. Regardless of how far this tunnel continued in the past, this is the end of the road for now. Hopefully, the data we've collected is enough to give us a clue where this hidden passageway would have gone at the time of the Black Dahlia murder. But the only way to find out is to render the data and see for myself. First, have a modern satellite view of downtown Los Angeles. You can see the Biltmore right here. About 6 miles away. Leimert Park is where
Shit.
see how far away Leimert Park is where Urban were found. Distance between Leimert and Leimert Park. But take a look at this. This is a map of the data that was collected from the Pegasus, showing the tunnel that I was walking through. There it is. Going all that distance from the Biltmore, and you can see that it runs right into the wall, that modern day construction that cut off that tunnel from wherever it was heading, and I couldn't go past that place. Okay, so now the second map. This is a map of the 1947 Los Angeles subway system. And when you lay that right on top, boom, you can see that beyond the subway system. And when you lay that right on top, you can see that beyond that wall, from the Biltmore, is the Los Angeles subway tunnel that continues all the way directly to Leimert Park. This doesn't necessarily prove that Buzz Williams believes that Biltmore bellhop Leslie Dillon is the Black Dahlia murderer, but it does show that Elizabeth Short could have been taken from the Biltmore through hidden passageways under the hotel, into the Los Angeles Underground, and all the way to Leimert Park, where her remains were found. And it all could have been done
that's
in
cool.
total secrecy. The undergrounds in this country have been used for so many nefarious criminal,
Damn, right
in this
close
case,
to our...
grisly purposes. Like a horror film. There's something about the underground, these underworlds of America, that are inseparable
That is so
from
cool.
murder and mayhem. in Turkey. Incredible. Wow, wild. A network of nearly 200 elaborate cities, dug entirely with hand tools thousands of years ago, and yet almost nothing is known about them. These cities have captured the modern world's imagination. Who could have built them? Everyone seems to have a theory. Some even think aliens were involved.
They were, dude. I was fucking there, dude. Fucking, and then no, wait, that was a Chinese man, never mind. Because the eyes were slanted, what are you racist and shit?
About just who constructed these amazing cities. This is headline news in the archaeological business, and what prompted an entire civilization to burrow underground.
I think Cappadocia is the cradle of civilization.
Unbelievable. Could the answers change everything we think we know about who was the first advanced society in the history of the world? That's amazing. To see what I can find out, I'm headed deep into the underworld of Cappadocia.
Cappadocia. Puttana bastardo.
Right beneath our feet, there are cities. Hidden by time, they hold the clues that could rewrite history. Into the abyss, huh? I'm Don Wildman, and my mission is to explore the farthest and deepest reaches of our planet.
Oh, this is so cool.
Technology. How cool is that? To dig into the greatest mysteries of our past.
I love Don Wildman. Love him.
Into the cities of the underworld.
Get over there.
Cappadocia. This fabled region right in the center of Turkey. Every civilization, from the Persians to the Romans and beyond, has laid claim to this area. It's one of these places in the ancient world where the history is layered so thick, you hardly even know where to begin. This mountainous region covers 2,000 square miles of craggy cliffs and peaks reaching 15,000 feet in elevation. Easy to get lost without a local guide.
Come on, you little
When you
bitch.
come here, what strikes you is the physical landscape. These fairy chimneys are very famous. All these volcanic deposits have been eroded away in these incredible formations. That's what's on the surface. It's a natural phenomenon. But below my feet is the mystery made by man. What really makes Cappadocia one of the coolest places in the world is the intricate network of underground cities beneath this moon station. There's one here called Oscar, and it was discovered in 1972 by a farmer who noticed the water in his field draining into a hole. When he opened it up, he found a sprawling metropolis made of stone. Look at that. This is so cool.
Oh, fuck.
I was here 15 years ago, when I was 15 years younger and much less wise, I'd like to think. Cappadocia was one of the first places I came when I started doing this kind of work. Going underground into these old ancient places. It is one of the coolest of all of them, you know? It's so cool to see this again. Back then, only a number of these cities had been excavated. The working theory was that they were all dug around 1,000 years ago to serve as emergency shelters for a few thousand people. But since I was last here, they've uncovered more and more of these underworlds. Archaeologists now These spaces could have been home to an undetermined civilization of perhaps millions of people. So I'm back with some brand new tech to try and find out who this mystery society may have been. Understand, this is not good. This whole thing used to be solid rock. This is a thick layer of volcanic ash deposited eons ago that man carved out. Only 4 floors of Ostanak have been explored, but archaeologists have used ground-penetrating radar to determine that there are 10 levels, extending 140 feet under the ground, which means up to 60,000 people may have lived here at any given time. These spaces are up above. When you first enter in here are the stables. And they've carved out these little holes which show you where the feed troughs are. But this is, we're just in the first level here. It goes down and down. And as you move through this labyrinth, this maze of tunnels, you see how specific they get. Down here, this is for food storage. The entire cave system stays at a steady temperature of about 68 degrees. I can feel the cool air coming down from above. There, you can
Give
see
me a
the
minute,
daylight
right
just
quick.
coming right down at me. A whole sophisticated ventilation system. There's a pretty grand design to this deal. That's what you realize. They pretty much thought of everything. Here. Come this way. Down into the space. Did we just go in a circle? That's weird. I like to think I have a pretty good sense of direction, but I'm completely lost after exploring for just a few minutes. I'm seriously winded at this point.
Hey, what's going
Imagine wandering the city with only a torch back when these tunnels were built.
I don't have a
know
server.
how long ago that was, but it was at least several thousand years ago.
Says this is going to be my solo one.
Crawl down here for a little bit, where this thing even goes.
Oh, fuck.
This entire system is just riddled with these tunnels. Up and down and all over the place. The effort that goes into creating these tunnels is just madness. I mean, just imagine trying to take this stuff out of here, one basket at a time. And we're talking about miles of stuff. Endless. Absolutely endless. But really, really cool. So amazing. How far do they go from this? They say that
Oh, you little bastard.
this tunnel system walking through here, I mean this
Fucker.
entire underground city, is itself connected to another underground city. Presumably connected to another one. That's the suspicion that they sort of had this ability to create this whole underground network. This might be a megalopolis of underground cities. The whole sprawl. The features of the underground city are impressive, especially considering they were made with hand tools. It must have taken decades or even centuries to build them. There's another tunnel that way. There's another door there. And it just continues. But what I've always been curious about is, and why? So I'm hoping this new tech can show us some new clues. I gotta map this thing out. I have this LiDAR, which I can use to get
Thanks for
real
joining the
clear
live
image
stream, though.
of what these spaces look like. And maybe by looking at that map, I can get some clearer picture of who these people were.
This is going to be a grand basement.
The Leica BLK360 came out this year and was invented as a tool for 3D mapping underground space. I can get some clearer picture of who these people were. The Leica BLK360 came out this year and was invented as a tool for 3D mapping underground spaces. It combines high-res photography with LiDAR point cloud data so that you can generate an exact map of a space as you pass through it. Jeez, look at that. You know that I love being the first one to use it down here. It gives you a whole different perspective. That's insane. By mapping with LiDAR, we can create a never-before-seen overview of this space. The idea is to identify the mysterious civilization that built these underground cities by looking at how all the design elements fit together. With the tech I've got now, I've got the ability to read this place digitally. Now I can figure out what it really looks like. Okay, so here we go.
3D version of the whole cave here. We can go right inside. Oh man, look at that. It gives me a whole overview of the engineering. So you can see the vastness of this city. How this can right? Moving through this claustrophobic maze of tunnels with a 360 rig, generating a bird's eye map of the entire space, provides a perspective I never get by just walking through the tunnels alone. What is that? And a single feature uncovered by this map could prove to be a major clue to the identity of this still unknown society. I've never seen something like this.
Hold on. Is there a technology you can buy that'll let you scan underneath the ground? Fucking idiot. God damn you. What a fucking idiot. Hold on a second.
High in the mountains of central
GPR.
If you've seen a crime scene investigation show, you may have seen them use a device like this to search for buried objects. This is a ground-penetrating radar system, a very real geophysical tool used to image the subsurface. But the actual reading you get, unfortunately, looks nothing like this. Reality looks a bit more like this. So ground-penetrating radar, or GPR, works by sending out an electromagnetic signal that gets reflected back when it encounters a change in material. The upside-down U's, or hyperbolas, in the resulting data indicate features in the ground that have different properties than the ground itself. Collecting multiple GPR profiles helps to distinguish between different types of buried objects, like between utility lines, tree roots, or graves. But it's not just buried objects that cause GPR reflections. A change in porosity, water saturation, soil and rock composition, and iron content can all cause GPR wave reflection. If you've seen a crime scene investigation show, you may have seen the...
Oh, fuck, I hate shorts.
I'm Travis with Subsurface. I'm Travis with Subsurface Solutions, here to show you the ground-penetrating radars by sensors and software. If you're shopping for a ground-penetrating radar, so the 150 has. The 200 and the 150 have grid scanning capabilities, which I'll explain in just a minute. But we're looking at touch screens on both units, and I got good and then the 150, and this will take a look. And really, the one thing that really apply that a little bit so we can single it out. You can see the deeper depths. You don't see much at all. But there it is. It's starting to show up. And right about there. And there we go. There's our line, and it looks like we have another line, secondary line, kind of showing up in there. So let's do that with the... There we go. And wow.
To read this place digitally, now I can figure out what it really looks like. Okay, so here we go. Look at that. So this is the 3D version of the whole cave here. We can go right inside. Oh man, look at that. It gives me a whole overview of the engineering. So you can see the vastness of this city, how this can accommodate 60,000 people, right? Moving through this claustrophobic maze of tunnels with a 360 rig, generating a bird's-eye map of the entire space, provides a perspective I'd never get by just walking through the tunnels on my own. What is that? And a single feature uncovered by this map could prove to be a major clue to the identity of this still unknown society. I've never seen something like this. High in the mountains of central Turkey sits the 2,000 square mile region called Cappadocia. And beneath this alien terrain lies a network of 200 underground cities that once housed up to 60,000 people each. They were hand-carved into volcanic rock. But by who? Archaeologists have theories, but no one knows for sure. Okay, so here we go. Look at that. It's incredible. What is that? I'm gonna go and check it out. I'm counting on this brand new 3D mapping technology to shine some new light on this dark and ancient history. This is by far the most incredible thing to me. This is a huge stone door to be rolled in. Another door there. Another one there. So you got 3 stone doors in a row. And the idea is under attack, this entire thing would be rolled in that direction, right? So that it literally blocked that tiny tunnel that just came down. But that's not all. Once you get this in place, the attackers can be attacked themselves from this space up here.
Bitch.
This is where the soldiers are posted, literally looking down on that tunnel. This attack force that's come at you is all lined up in single file, getting spears thrust down at them from above through these holes. Not to mention hot oil being poured down. Down here, on the other side of this stone, you can see where that spear would have been coming down. If you were on the attack and trying to move this thing, boom, spear gets shoved right in your skull, right there. And so that's how this place remains defended for 60,000 people to live in a bunker, essentially, for up to a year, depending on how much they'd stored down here. Each individual feature is impressive on its own, but when you examine the 3D map as a whole, it becomes crystal clear how advanced this construction really is. There are defensive tactics, ventilation systems, granaries, livestock pens. The place is a fortress.
Yeah.
Who built it? I need to look closer at anything that may point to an ancient and apparently very advanced society who once occupied this area. Luckily, a new discovery 30 miles from here may do exactly that. Halil is an archaeologist who uncovered some ancient hieroglyphs back in 2019. I want to know if there's anything in these hieroglyphs that may point to the creators of the underground cities.
Left, please.
Left here? Okay. It's an amazing country that you can really see the old and new so close together here, right? This is how it was always done.
You can see it all around here. Each houses, each field comes from really old times. And there's one stone barn is over there. Now we are going.
Yes.
We found written hieroglyphs.
This is the place? Up there?
Yeah.
Hey, look at that. This is amazing. That's very old construction.
And these are the scripts.
Oh, yeah.
It's a hieroglyph.
Oh, look at this. And all of this has all kinds of markings on it here. There you go. Look at that one. Beautiful. So this thing is a storybook. And these are all symbols.
So this shows the mountain is big, mountain is strong, holy. After some sample testing from the organic materials in the ground, carbon date says it's 3,500 years ago. This shows the Hittites lived here 3,500 years ago.
Okay, so this is a Hittite wall.
Yes, that's true.
The Hittite Empire ruled this part of Turkey from 1700 BC to around 1200 BC. No one knows exactly how vast their empire was, but starting in 1275 BC, Ramses II, the Egyptian pharaoh, attacked with 20,000 men, attempting to wrest control of Hittite lands, rich with metals like silver and iron. So, how did the Hittites defend themselves? Could they have used these subterranean structures both as a home and defense system against the Egyptians? It seems quite possible. Still, definitively pointed to the Hittites being the original builders of the 200 underground cities. Could these newly discovered hieroglyphics tell us something we didn't know? So what do they say,
No.
do you know?
Each symbol is one word or one name. You see that it's shaped like a mountain?
Yeah.
All this Cappadocia was the Hittite land.
Halil and his team interpret the mountain symbols as an indication that the Hittites were claiming ownership of the mountainous region of Cappadocia. But could they have built the underground cities? Were they advanced enough for such a feat of engineering?
They were really well, they were starter of the Iron Age. They were doing agriculture, they were doing the animal farming. First post organization, first water channels for the agriculture or even for the houses. So they are first for most of the things.
They clearly had some advanced ideas, and their empire reigned right in the middle of the Bronze Age, using metal tools to aid their advancements in building and agriculture. Maybe they are the original architects of the underground cities. It seems pretty clear to me. I mean, it's circumstantial evidence, but the Hittites were here, and they're the ones that had this capability and the need for it. That's the interesting thing to me. You have an empire that sits on one of the most valuable regions in the world at that time. Everybody wanted this area. They would have had to make it with their lives. Those underground cities must have been part of this. The network of up to 200 underground cities in central Turkey is immense. And the mystery of
Immense or mass? Immense mass?
Underground cities in central Turkey is immense.
Oh.
And the mystery of who built them is even bigger. I've seen evidence that suggests the cities could have been built by the Hittites, a Bronze Age people who lived in this region 3,500 years ago. They had the tools and the reason to build the tunnels. But did they? Researcher and author Andrew Collins has spent years searching for the answer to that question.
My own interest in Cappadocia really began in the 1980s. I was looking for the origins of civilization. I thought, oh my God, I mean, yeah, these were these huge underground complexes on multiple levels, of which almost nothing is known about.
Well, what about the Hittites?
You know, we know that the Hittites occupied the area of Cappadocia in the past. But the problem with these underground cities is that they were used by many successive cultures.
You're suggesting that this would have happened over different civilizations?
Absolutely.
Wow.
The general belief was that they could have been constructed by the Hittites. But the underground cities were clearly already there before the time of the Hittites.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
He looks like David Gray. Sounds like him a little
took
bit.
advantage of underground cities that already existed. They didn't build them. He says, my timetable is off, and I mean way off.
There was an archaeologist locally, Omar Demir, and he found whole extensive areas of rock chips that had very clearly come from one or more of the underground cities.
This is rubble taken from the excavation of those cities, the digging of those cities, then transported out.
Absolutely. Found in the Torganle Valley, which is about 20 kilometres east of Cappadocia. And these were in exactly the same spot that he found a number of late Paleolithic tools, hand axes, scrapers made of obsidian.
When you say Paleolithic, you're speaking of the Stone Age.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. What this showed was these underground cities could go back much, much older than the time of the Hittites, at least 11 to 12,000 years old.
The term Stone
Douchebag.
Age refers to an immense time period, spanning the entire time. Anything resembling a human used tools made of stone. So that's from about 2.6 million years ago up until 6,000 years ago, when humans finally invented something better. Metal tools. They were much more effective.
Stupid niggers.
We know the Hittites
Goddamn
used metal
Mojang.
tools. So if what Andrew's saying is true, that would mean 200 advanced and elaborate underground cities were entirely dug by stone tools. And almost 12,000 years ago. But that would be an insane development, because it would mean that the Cappadocian underworld was home to a civilization far more advanced than anything we thought existed that long ago. The understanding is that a more complex version of human civilization began about 6,000 years ago.
Absolutely.
You're talking about a society that predates that.
That's correct, yeah. I think Cappadocia is the cradle of civilization.
When scientists refer to the cradle of civilization, they're talking about the first humans to transition from nomadic hunter-gatherers to more advanced settlements that developed agriculture, the first writing systems, governments, complex tools, architecture, all of that which allowed them to create human society. Current thinking is that there's a handful of these cradles of civilization that developed separately in different areas of the world. But they all have a couple of things in common. Their advances happened during the Bronze Age when using metal tools. They all happened 6,000 years ago. So, if Andrew's theory is right, and Cappadocia's underground cities were dug by an advanced civilization dating back 12,000 years into the Stone Age, it might be a whole new chapter in our understanding of human history. This makes me much more curious about the origins of Cappadocia.
Motherfucker.
Stone Age people
You know what, you motherfucker?
underground cities, could they have also been more advanced? A farming society that used a complicated system of architecture, government, tools. Is it possible that Cappadocia might be the oldest cradle of civilization?
Fucking idiots.
I'm interested in checking this out even further. So I'm looking into an archaeological site just 200 miles southeast of Cappadocia. That many
God
scientists
damn,
believe
y'all.
is the oldest religious temple anywhere.
God damn y'all.
So this is a 3D map of Göbekli Tepe, alright? And this place was dated to 12,000 years ago. Göbekli Tepe was first discovered in 1994 by a German archaeologist named Klaus Schmidt. He was investigating some stones on the top of a hill, which local farmers thought were grave markers for a medieval cemetery. But after doing some digging, quite literally, Schmidt realized that these stones were actually the tops of massive T-shaped limestone pillars. And when I say massive, I'm talking 10 tons massive. And scans revealed that the site could contain up to 200 of these pillars. But even more impressive than the size and scope of Göbekli Tepe is its age.
I'm gonna fucking murder you niggers.
Almost 12,000 years old.
Stupid nigger.
Making them the oldest standing stone structures ever discovered to date.
God damn
No
you.
one's sure who built them, but some archaeologists
Just to get the fuck out of here, you stupid nigger. Gonna slit your fucking throats, Mojang.
What's crazy about this is that this chapel on a hill was built
Gonna
almost
cut your goddamn
6,000
fucking
years before
throat.
Historians believe that sacred worship rituals and religious temples of this kind even existed. So,
What a fucking nigger.
6,000 years before historians believe that sacred
God damn you.
rituals and religious temples of this kind even existed. So, if these people were so organized as to create something of this nature, then maybe the ancient peoples who created this may be the very ones who dug the underground cities. But to really find out, you gotta check it out yourself. I've been looking into the amazing underground cities in Cappadocia, Turkey, and who might have created them. Were these cities possibly built with Stone Age tools 12,000 years ago? If so, it could potentially change the whole scientific timeline of the earliest cradles of human civilization. I'm now headed to check out Göbekli Tepe, an archaeological site 200 miles to the southeast. Perhaps clues uncovered there can reveal some truth about the lost civilization of Cappadocia.
I'm gonna slit your fucking throats, Mojang. And walk right in your goddamn offices and cut your fucking throats off. 4, 5, 6 of you. 80 of you niggers. Stupid cunts.
Love the smell of history in the morning.
Fucking
While
niggers.
the secrets of Göbekli Tepe are still being unlocked, we do know the approximate time it was constructed. Archaeologists theorize that it was a religious pilgrimage site built by nomadic societies. Wondering if Göbekli Tepe might somehow be connected to the subterranean cities of Cappadocia. Unbelievable, there it is. That is amazing to see. This is the oldest archaeological site in the world. This is late Stone Age. Everything you're seeing here was made with a flint or a stone tool, and that's it. Now, let me be clear, I can't get down into this excavation. Nobody gets down in this excavation. This is the most precious piece of archaeology currently in the world today. It's very, very fragile. This is a religious site. This is not a village. People weren't living here. This is a strictly ceremonial, ritualistic
God damn, you took too long to get there, fucking nigger.
old pillars. There's an incredible amount of carving. What they represent is a big question mark. Look at that one over there. That one in particular just blows your mind. That's a 3D rendering of some kind of predator
Oh, wow.
crawling down the side of that pillar. If Stone Age humans had enough skill to construct this elaborate temple, then it stands to reason they could also have dug the underground cities that housed hundreds of thousands in Cappadocia. Stone Age people are assumed to have been very primitive. It's a hunting and gathering society. They don't settle down. But
What does this take? This takes a lot of planning, a lot of organization, a lot of work.
Ooh.
Whoever made this was very sophisticated.
Buckets.
Based on the vast scale of Göbekli Tepe and the use of stone tools to build it seems possible that a similar Stone Age culture could have built the underground cities of Cappadocia. And if Cappadocia and Göbekli Tepe are linked, this is a culture extending over 200 miles in central Turkey. A large society, socially advanced. This had been the original cradle of human civilization. Historically speaking, this is revolutionary. To see if this could be possible, I'm meeting with Dr. Martin Sweatman, a scientist at the University of Edinburgh, who's researched Göbekli Tepe's ancient ruins.
You've done some incredible work at Göbekli Tepe. Can you explain it to me?
Well, I mean, Göbekli Tepe is perhaps the world's first megalithic temple. On these pillars, there are these animal symbols, and they seem to be telling some kind of story or encoding some kind of information. One of the pillars there is snakes that are sort of emanating from these animals. And of course, that doesn't really make much sense because snakes don't just naturally emanate from animals. But when we think of these animals as constellations, for instance, then we can easily interpret the snakes as meteors. And so we think that most of the symbolism of Göbekli Tepe is supporting this idea of a comet impact.
That's amazing.
And there is this event known as the Younger Dryas impact, creating a great catastrophe which they think triggered kind of like a mini ice age. It began around 10,900 BC. It's about 1,300 years long. Temperatures plummeted very rapidly.
That ice age transformed a land that looked like this into one that looked like this. And it all happened around 12,000 years ago, the same time that stone tools were commonly used by early men. Now that could be a coincidence, or it could be the motivation to dig underground cities to survive that 1,000-year winter. The mystery of Cappadocia's underground cities has confounded archaeologists for decades. Who built them, and how old are they? We saw some clues at the archaeological site Göbekli Tepe that point to an advanced society that could be thousands of years older than what it was thought the first advanced civilizations were formed. I also met with Dr. Martin Sweatman, who theorized that the symbols on the pillars at this religious site tell of a catastrophic meteor that may have driven a large civilization into the Cappadocian underground to survive an impending ice age.
So if that is true, then the symbols at Göbekli Tepe tell of this natural disaster that humans suffer from and survive.
That's exactly what we think, yeah. It's like an eyewitness
I wanna
account of what happened.
empty the bucket out.
I'd like to take a closer look at the symbols on the structures at Göbekli Tepe to see if I can better understand Martin's theory. But going down into the dig site isn't an option. So I'm headed to the local Şanlıurfa Museum, where they have an exhibit on the temple.
This is a perfect replica of the oldest, deepest layer of Göbekli Tepe. I'm standing in the center of what is a very arranged order here. Everything is equidistant from each other around the circle. An embodiment of the cosmos, an observatory. And each one of these pillars may have been a representation of a certain constellation. If you look closer, there are
you motherfucker.
lines. The lines represent the comets coming to Earth. The story is told in these pillars.
It goes something like this. The meteors strike, bringing an ice age. And things above ground get cold. Very, very cold. So a stone age society moves underground to escape the elements. Then emerges after the ice age ends and memorializes their survival at Göbekli Tepe, the world's first temple. But the only way to find out if that theory makes sense is to find some hard evidence that the cities were dug with Stone Age tools, similar to the tools used to construct the pillars at Göbekli Tepe. To see what I can find, I'm headed to Derinkuyu, one of the least disturbed underground cities in Cappadocia, which might give us some insight into the techniques used to create this subterranean world.
Oh, fuck this.
somewhere in this village. It's one of many access points to this vast underground that is below this whole town. I mean, this is one of the largest of them all. While other cities have become popular tour destinations, Derinkuyu is less so. Merhaba. Can I come in? One access point to this 18-story underground city, once housing 20,000 people, has nothing to do with tourists. Look at this right in the laundry. That's it. That's the underground. That's really neat. Oh, that's amazing. It just goes from modern day right into an ancient tunnel system.
What?
Hey. They need. Oh, that's amazing.
Oh, you motherfucker, get on.
That's it. That's the underground. That's really. Merhaba. Can I come in? One access point to this 18-story underground city, once housing 20,000 people, has nothing to do with tourists. Look at this right in the laundry. That's it. That's the underground. That's really neat. Oh, that's amazing. It just goes from modern day right into an ancient tunnel system. Follow me down. It sort of opens up down here. This is awesome. Unbelievable. Oh, wow, you can really see the markings, too. The markings of the tools that were used. Boy, it's really clear here. This is a good spot. I want to do this thing right here. This text should be able to help us understand what kind of tool was used and who made these tunnels to begin with. Once again, I'm breaking out the BLK 360. But this time I'll use the photogrammetry settings. This will not only take ultra-detailed 3D scans of the tool marks, but also capture
Get your goddamn ass over there, nigger cunt.
which will give us the exact
I'm gonna kill you,
and size of each marking.
dumb monkey bitch.
There we go. So that's all done. Let's see what we got. This is an extremely high-resolution image of all this space around me right here. And if I zoom in, I can see the markings. But to really understand that, we have to have something to compare it to. I have to render the ones deeper in the tunnel system, which presumably were made at a much later time. So let's pack up and climb down. If you're trying to figure out which architect designed a house, you don't just look at the entryway and call it a day. Let's go down. You gotta look at the whole building. This is really tight. I mean, anthill is a fair comparison. Would have been deeper, of course, without the soil on the ground. Alright, now look at this. Look at this. This is typical down here in these underground cities all over the place. These gigantic stone doors. They would normally have wedged this into place until they needed to roll it. Something happened that rolled this out, leaving us only this much space to get through. These stone doors weigh around 4,000 pounds each. And something dislodged this one, which is why it's here, blocking our path to the deeper levels. Alright, here goes nothing. So naturally my instinct is to find a way past it, so I can have a little fun deep in the underworld. I'm deep below the Cappadocia region of central Turkey, in the underground city of Derinkuyu, somewhere between a rock and a hard place. No one ever said that searching for the origins of an ancient civilization was supposed to be easy.
Alright. Give me that backpack.
But now that I'm through that, I can get back to the task at hand. Scanning the walls with this new photogrammetry technology. So we can try to figure out what kind of tools were used to dig out this place.
Oh, this is good.
If dug by stone tools, it might show that the cities were made by a Stone Age culture to survive a devastating ice age 12,000 years ago. Which raises the question, could this have been the oldest advanced civilization in the world?
I don't know what I'm looking at. I have to send this data to archaeologists, and they can look at these markings. They can analyze whether or not they were made by stone or metal.
Stone Age people or Iron Age people. And I've tracked down the perfect team to help me.
Matt and Michelle, how you doing?
Good.
Metin Aaron and Michelle Bever are archaeologists at Kent State. Metin specializes in stone tools, Michelle in iron.
Well, we had a close look at these scans.
Iron. Specializes in stone tools, Michelle in iron.
Well, we had a close look at these scans. We've got the upper levels right here and the lower levels right here.
Okay.
The upper level is actually the oldest, and as you go down, you get more recent in time.
Right.
Because the level closest to the surface would be the first one you dig, and then as time goes by, you'd continue down from there.
Yes. So because of that, these upper levels are very old. Just looking at these scans, you can see that the walls are very smooth. They're very eroded from people living here for thousands of years.
Interesting.
One of the pictures, there's a niche in the wall, and that's kind of been more preserved compared to
It's fascinating.
the areas
And
getting a lot of
there's a
activity.
next one is about Australia's deadly prison.
Any evidence that tells you that this was a Stone Age tool that was cutting out
Cities of the Underworld. I'm watching that. I don't know if I've seen that before.
But if we were to compare it to
There's a
the
tunnel
scales
underneath
of
the prison.
lower level, I
Woo.
would say the upper level is more likely to be some sort of stone chopping tool, simply because you can see the marks are slightly more blunt. They're not as sharp as these marks from the lower level.
How interesting, yeah.
So it's definitely possible.
Michelle's observations confirm that markings on the upper level of the city are consistent with blunt stone tools, especially when compared with the crisper marks on the lower levels.
What?
This supports our theory that the cities could have been dug by an ancient unknown civilization, trying to escape a sudden ice age. Can you show me what you think a Stone Age tool that would have been used to make those underground cities looks like?
Yeah. You can actually chip out axes or adzes and then grind them smooth.
Yeah.
And then if you imagine that an adze or an axe like this would be hafted onto a handle, you can easily just chop through. So the idea that Stone Age people would be creating architecture is not outside the realm of possibility.
That's amazing. So the possibility definitely exists, which is good enough for me to open the idea up. Thank you very much. While it's not definitive, the belief that the underground cities of Cappadocia may have been dug out with stone tools supports the idea that around 12,000 years ago, an advanced civilization lived in the Cappadocian underworld. When those meteors struck, people took shelter in the underground. We still don't know the identity of the mysterious culture that excavated the underground cities of Cappadocia.
I think Cappadocia is the cradle of civilization.
But some clues that we've uncovered point to an incredibly old and remarkably advanced people who used sophisticated tools and technology far beyond what we believed possible during that stage of human development.
Hey, what's up, y'all?
Pretty grand design of this deal.
Oh, shit.
They would have been sophisticated enough to survive a catastrophic meteor strike and subsequent ice age.
What's going on, y'all?
And then develop a system of writing to document it all. The survivors of this ice age create Göbekli Tepe, carve these stones, telling this story, recounting the record of how, against the odds, mankind survived. This would demonstrate that the earliest cradle of human civilization sprung up.
What's up? I've
Story, recounting the record of how, against the odds, mankind survived. This would demonstrate that the earliest cradle of human civilization sprung up 12,000 years ago, and clues to their existence are hidden deep in the Cappadocian underworld.
Dig beneath the fancy hotels and modern construction sites, and you'll see Hungary's capital city of Budapest is hiding a colossal underground kingdom. It's astounding. It's amazing. This thing still works. This is an amazing labyrinth. A dark world of ancient caves and subterranean seas. This feels like we are in the devil's lair right here. From the invading Mongols, the remains of the Romans, the Turkish takeover, and the bloody battles of World War II, Budapest has seen over 2 millennia of war and destruction. But while most cities were building castles to the sky, Budapest was engineering its kingdom in the underworld.
This is the cave hospital. Probably 9 out of 10 local people have no idea about.
With the help of expert guides, we'll find the narrow passages and unlock the doors that hide the secrets to constructing a city of caves. And he's found something right there right now. We're peeling back the layers of time to uncover Budapest. The subterranean city of caves.
That's beautiful.
In the heart of Eastern Europe sits a city like no other. A city where nearly 2 million people live directly on top of a super network of 20-million-year-old caves. I'm Eric Geller. I'm in Budapest, Hungary. And for nearly 2,000 years, this was a city under siege. It was ruled by the Romans and the Ottomans.
What the fuck happened to the other guy? Damn it.
By the fierce battles of the Second World War. Now, everywhere you look, you can see the remains of this turbulent past. But there's another layer of history here. A secret world that's been brewing underneath these streets since the dawn of time. The story of Budapest's underworld goes back 20 million years, when the caves beneath the city were first carved out by thermal waters from deep inside the earth. No other capital city in the world
Motherfucker, no. Give me.
whose strong walls literally hold up the city, and whose dark, unexplored recesses still hold the clues to Budapest's turbulent past. Today's Budapest is the capital of the Republic of Hungary. It's a dynamic city of 1.8 million, full of bubbling bathhouses, bustling markets, and massive bridges crossing the Danube. Houses, bustling markets, and massive bridges crossing the Danube. Just 17 years after the fall of communism, the city is growing at breakneck speed. And with the Iron Curtain lifted, the caves that helped to create the vibrant city above can finally be explored. The caves in Budapest are found on the Buda side of the city. Once 2 separate cities of Budapest was united as one in 1873. Pest sat on the flat side east of the Danube, and Buda was the hilly, cave-filled region on the west banks. Together, they create the 8th largest city in the European Union. But what went on in the cave systems beneath the Buda Hills? I was about to enter an underworld once inhabited by cavemen, full of trash from the Turks and the Romans, and where some of the bloodiest battles of World War II took place. I'd start my journey down at the Pavlovi Matyshege cave system. This system was discovered only 100 years ago. Today, it's a playground for urban explorers.
Salat? Hi, Eric. Welcome to the Pavlovi Matyshege cave system. Thank you. Okay, that's your clothes. You can take home.
Oh, excellent. Gonna get you geared up here, huh? I met up with Szilard Regu, an urban cave explorer.
Yeah, baby.
Szilard was going to show me one of the longest cave systems in Budapest. So, we're walking in the middle of the street, right? Yeah. There's houses there, apartment buildings. Yeah. This is right in the middle of Budapest. Yes. And there's a cave over here. Yes. There are over 170 known caves beneath Budapest, formed by the thermal waters surging beneath its soil. The Pavloyi-Matyashega cave system is one of the newly discovered systems in the city. It was first mapped out in the early 1900s, when the ground collapsed beneath a goat grazing up above.
Wow.
Residents began to explore the labyrinth below, and today the entire system is almost 12 miles long. When you go there, use every steps. Okay, I know. We've already ascended about 20 or 30 feet here, and we've got a very, looks like a narrow passage right here. Just a playground. Okay, let's go. Let's move slide down. That was easy the way he did it, right? Alright. As always, if I die, my last words are calling my brother. The cave snaked for miles. Hardly something I expected to find beneath the capital city. Oh, I shouldn't have had all that goulash. We had already descended 50 feet, and the cave kept going deeper. At their deepest point, the Pavloyi-Matyashega caves are 300 feet beneath the surface. So above us, right now, there is a house right above us? Or the road above us? Yeah. Cars passing above us? Yeah, each house. So show me where we are right now. Where did we enter? We entered here, and we went down, we slided down, this way, and arrived to the Great Hall. Szilard told me that this system isn't the only one. There could be hundreds more waiting beneath the streets to be explored. But finding them isn't an easy task, because as the city continues to grow on top, accessing these virgin systems becomes more and more difficult. What is that? Fossil. Oh, look, we have a fossil here. It looks like a fossilized shell. It's a part of the sea. Accessing these virgin systems becomes more and more difficult. What is that? Fossil. Oh, look, we have a fossil here. It looks like a fossilized shell. It's a part of the sea urchin. But what was a fossilized sea urchin doing 50 feet beneath Budapest? Amazingly, millions of years ago, I wouldn't be standing in a dry cave, but swimming in the Pannon Lake, a large brackish lake that mysteriously dried up sometime in the last 10,000 years. Hungary and many of the surrounding countries in the region were once covered by the Pannon. The fossil I found was from that time. And here's what happened next. Over millions of years, sediment from the sea, including dead creatures, formed layers of dolomite and limestone over a mile deep. The Budapest region emerged as an island. Eventually the water receded, and tectonic shifts in the earth caused the hills of Buda to rise above the Pest side at the fault line where the Danube River still runs today.
Get the
So
fuck
now Buda was a hilly landscape.
over there.
But how did the caves form? It all started when the same tectonic shifts that gave the city its hills left faults and fissures that trapped enormous pockets of water, or aquifers. Beginning about 2 million years ago, this water, rich in hydrogen sulfide and carbon dioxide, was bubbling just below the surface. When rainwater would percolate down through the limestone, it mixed with the geothermal waters and created a mineral-rich fluid. The thermal waters began to dissolve the stone and course through the canals, creating chambers and tunnels. Over 2 million years later, the water level has dropped, but the caves it created still remain. Today, millions of years of history are hidden down there. And if I wanted to
I'm gonna slit your fucking throat. Fucking niggers. No niggers.
I went to the Budapest University of Technology and Economics and met with Dr. Thomas Mezos, a professor who had studied the parallel world of caves underneath the streets of
fucking niggers.
There's another city.
That's true. We know that we have a very important and huge cave system. Such a cave system nowhere exists.
The Castle cave system was rediscovered in 1818 when a horse actually fell through the ground. Local government
I'm gonna slice your fucking throat.
A few years later, the city finished a survey of the caves beneath the streets and made an extensive map of the system. But around the turn of the century, the map was lost. Even today, no one knows where that map went.
It was really very interesting that practically from the 9th to the 13th century there was a parallel city. It is a pity story that geological survey was lost. It is sure that we have to resurvey it again because that cave system is a part of our heritage.
It's a heritage shrouded in secrecy. It's been mostly forgotten and sealed up in the caves beneath Castle Hill. And I've been granted special access to go down. Today, the streets of Budapest are packed with shoppers, vendors, tourists, businessmen, people going about their daily lives. Once a military outpost for the Romans, the city has since boomed into a major metropolis. But long before skyscrapers were constructed along the Danube, Budapest was booming below ground. There are miles of caves snaking beneath Budapest, but it's within the system of caves beneath Castle Hill where the history of this city first began. Walking through them is like walking through a time machine, all the way back into the Ice Age. The caves first began to take on a life of their own in the 13th century. The Hungarian kingdom was situated on the flat banks of the Danube. But this location left them exposed and allowed invading Mongols to sweep through and slaughter the population. Entire villages were wiped out, and the kingdom was in ruins. The Hungarian ruler at the time was King Bela IV. Today, he's known for rebuilding the kingdom after the brutal barbarian slaughter. His first decision was to move the entire kingdom 200 feet up into the hills of Buda. It was a strategic move on his part, for he knew of the caves and wells that existed there. He now had the protection he was looking for, both above and below. The 300 homes in medieval Buda sat on top of 285 wells fed by thermal springs. That meant just beneath their basements, most citizens had access to the first level of caves, and they put them to good use. Winding for miles throughout the city, the caves were no longer just storage areas. They literally became a major thoroughfare beneath the streets. But that didn't last long. Homeowners began to wall off sections beneath their basements, closing off the passages. Slowly, the Great Labyrinth became a series of individual cellars. Today, underneath most houses on Castle Hill, you'll find access to this sealed-off time capsule. First, there's the surface level of the house. Next, the basements of each home. Then, arched medieval cellars used by the Turks. And finally, the natural cave level beneath that. And I was about to be one of the few allowed down.
Eric?
Zoltán Bene is a retired civil engineer for the city of Budapest. He brought along Adina to translate. Zoltán knows this hidden system like the back of his hand. He's the one they call in the middle of the night, when the occasional daring citizen finds his way in.
Damn, girl.
Can't get out. This is an amazing labyrinth. I mean, I'm looking right here. I'm seeing a corridor that way, one that way. There's everywhere I look. And look at this. We see the natural rock. Here we see old field stones and contemporary. Unlike the more remote Pavloye caves, this one had been inhabited by nearly every generation of Castle Hill residents since the Romans. Today, it's hard to tell what's natural and what's man-made. So each one of these compartments belongs to another house. Oh, look, and here we see some, looks like very crude steps. This stairwell was one of dozens in the cave system that led to the medieval homes and buildings sitting up above, and is another example of the layers of history beneath the streets. In these very rooms, residents used to hide their valuables from tax collectors. You could hollow out an area, place your valuables or your food reserves, and then put more stone on top of it. And when the tax man comes, or the invader comes, they're certainly not going to find it. There was a makeshift prison used to hold the town drunks. We can imagine somebody might have been chained. Is that it exactly? Not a good place to be. You probably learned your lesson. You probably stopped fighting and drinking. There were fossils from when the caves were formed. I see this is a bone. It's a fossilized bone right here. And even remnants of a time most Budapest residents would rather. I
I'm right now standing in a World War II disinfection chamber, and I should probably leave this room before I catch another infection from the underworld.
Walking beneath the streets, it was easy to forget you were in the...
Infection from the underworld.
Walking beneath the streets, it was easy to forget you were in the middle of a capital city.
Wow.
But occasionally, there were reminders.
So there was a palace above us at one point, and this was an exit.
A Hungarian palace built in the Middle Ages once sat directly on top of this system. The chambers I was walking through would most likely have been used for royal storage. But this palace was one of the many destroyed during the course of Budapest's violent history. And today, a busy bus station sits on top. A palace, a bus station, homes, and hotels put a lot of weight on the fragile caves down below. But none as much as Castle Hill's most iconic building, the famous 800-year-old Matthias Church. Having renovated the church over 7 times in 8 centuries, Budapest engineers knew they couldn't keep building without retrofitting the caves below.
Hold on, guys.